Some things you shouldn't comprehend lightly. Buzz. Kai Kuan floated before them, looking down at Xiang Beifei and his group, and suddenly frowned, because he realized Tang Yingxin was missing. Then he turned to the battlefield where Tang Yingxin's aura lingered, as Tang Yingxin had died too quickly for him to notice, not even knowing who had killed him. You actually killed Tang Yingxin? Kai Kuan's gaze lingered between Xiang Beifei, whose body was still covered with crane feathers, and He Yunfang, who looked completely human, finally landing on He Yunfang. You! This guy actually hid your hand. Kai Kuan assumed He Yunfang had killed Tang Yingxin, considering He Yunfang was He Qing's father, with formidable strength and experience. But then he sneered. That loser Tang Yingxin. I never counted on him. His death saves me the trouble of killing him. Tang Yingxin had lost to He Qing days ago and was severely injured, without fully recovering. It was likely that He Yunfang seized the opportunity, and his death was of no great consequence. When Kai Kuan saw He Qing wield the divine phoenix bone, he understood why Tang Yingxin wanted He Qing to be captured alive as a condition to reveal the second Dao Stone buyer. Tang Yingxin simply wanted the divine phoenix bone. The divine phoenix bone was indeed powerful. He Qing had blocked him for a while with it, though she was still outmatched. He desired more and more to possess this treasure. Thus, after killing He Qing, he wouldn't hand over the divine phoenix bone to Tang Yingxin. If Tang Yingxin had any objections, he would kill him outright. Here, there was no faith or honor to speak of. So, how do you intend to die? Kai Kuan's expression was full of mockery, seeing that He Qing was already at her wit's end. The divine phoenix bone's power was beyond her capability, and even if He Yunfang could kill Tang Yingxin, it didn't prove anything at all. Hand over the Dao Stone and divine phoenix bone now, and I'll allow you to die swiftly, he said with a sinister smile. He Qing clenched the divine phoenix bone in her hand. Handing it over or not still meant death. So now, she'd fight with all her might. You too! Protect yourselves well, she shouted lowly, preparing to charge out again. But Xiang Beifei extended a hand to hold her back. Let me, Xiang Beifei said with a grin. What are you doing? You're not his match. He Qing spoke urgently. Young Master Xiang, don't be reckless. He's very strong, even stronger than Tang Yingxin, reputed invincible at the middle stage of eternal life. Though He Yunfang knew Xiang Beifei had just slain Tang Yingxin, he knew Kai Kuan's prowess at the same middle stage of eternal life was far more terrifying. An entirely different caliber. Invincible at the middle stage of eternal life? Xiang Beifei stepped forward, rising gracefully into the air, standing in front of Kai Kuan, looking at this man with conspicuously painted red shadows beneath his eyes. An ant trying to topple a tree, utterly unaware of its reckoning. Kai Kuan sneered contemptuously, suddenly waved a hand, and a terrifying aura bombarded Xiang Beifei. The imposing Kuan silhouette descended as if the sky was falling. He Yunfang and his daughter's hearts were tight with tension. This aura was so overwhelmingly terrifying, inducing despair in them. But just then, the sky suddenly darkened. All perception seemed to be shielded. Without any premonition, everything happened too suddenly, catching everyone off guard. Kai Kuan's heart jolted. A surge of danger suddenly welled inside him, prompting him to use his heavenly Dao to protect himself. Yet, he was startled to find his Kuan Dao's manifestation trembled abruptly, as if suppressed by something, unable to move. Whoosh! The sky darkened quickly, and brightened just as fast. When He Yunfang and He Qing could finally see clearly what was before them, they were thunderstruck. Kai Kuan's head had been somehow twisted off by Xiang Beifei, held in his hand. I told you, just a little dried fish, Xiang Beifei said indifferently. A small dried fish? Both He Yunfang and He Qing were stunned. The father and daughter looked at Xiang Beifei in shock, then at the head of Kai Kuan in Xiang Beifei's hand, full of disbelief. That was Kai Kuan. He made a name for himself before the age of 500, with mid-immortal realm strength, defeated late-stage immortal realm geniuses, and climbed to the 98th spot on the Earth ranking with an almost mythical momentum. becoming a young and terrifying genius in everyone's eyes. The Earth ranking requires one to be under 1,000 years old, while the heavenly ranking is under 3,000 years old. Kai Kuan, known as Invincible at Mid-Immortal Realm, was hailed as one of the geniuses most likely to break through to the Inquiry Dao realm and enter the heavenly ranking before reaching 1,000 years old. However, He Yunfang and He Qing never expected that such a Kuan race genius, who brought them endless pressure, would be killed by Xiang Beifei in an instant. They didn't even see how Xiang Beifei attacked. They just knew that the sky suddenly darkened, and within a few seconds, brightened again. Then the previously arrogant Kai Kuan's head had relocated. Kai Kuan didn't even seem to resist, as if he was stretching his neck for Xiang Beifei to cut. At this moment, Kai Kuan's head was held in Xiang Beifei's hand, with a trace of mockery still on his face, his arrogant expression lingering in his brow, not disappearing. Even until his death, he never took Xiang Beifei seriously, thinking he was just a young, inexperienced Crane Race Jr., whom he could crush like an ant with a single finger. But he was too arrogant, so he died without understanding why. Shi Beifei did not just cut off his physical head, but also his soul. Dead. You actually killed Kai Kuan. He Yunfang looked at Xiang Beifei in horror. He had never thought that the human race child he always assumed had low cultivation and had thought of protecting, so the young one wouldn't die prematurely, would be so terrifying at 23 years old. How could they know this little human didn't need their protection? In the end, it was him who saved them. I can't kill him? Xiang Beifei asked curiously. No. I mean, you just killed Tang Yingxin. He Yunfang was the most shocked, because he had witnessed Xiang Beifei killing Tang Yingxin and then destroying Kai Kuan. Within less than a quarter of an hour, 2 Earth-ranking geniuses had died at Xiang Beifei's hands. Originally, witnessing Xiang Beifei kill Tang Yingxin had already astonished him, but Xiang Beifei killing Kai Kuan truly frightened him. Oh, that weakling isn't formidable. Xiang Beifei waved his hand dismissively. But you killed Kai Kuan too, He Yunfang murmured. He's just a little mud eel, dies with a poke, Xiang Beifei said again. He Yunfang, He Qing, the father and daughter were left speechless. Not formidable? Dies with a poke? These two nearly took our lives. At least respect our dignity when you speak. He Yunfang and He Qing exchanged glances, their gaze at Xiang Beifei changing. They felt this peculiar human race child was indeed too mysterious. Xiang Beifei looked at Kai Kuan's head, tossed it lightly, and a pure white flame sprouted, burning, quickly refining Kai Kuan's cultivated Dao embryo into a mid-immortal realm spiritual power crystal. Then, Xiang Beifei searched Kai Kuan's belongings, and needless to say, as an Earth-ranking genius, Kai Kuan had many valuable artifacts on him. This person's behavior was always domineering and vicious. Whatever he fancied, he would use his powerful cultivation and status to forcefully buy or seize it at an extremely low price. Of course, within these were the Dao Stone and over 100 feet of breath soil obtained from Tang Yingxin. There were also plenty of treasures from Tang Yingxin, which Xiang Beifei handed over to Xiaohe for sorting, an activity Xiaohe was particularly enthusiastic about, barking and grinning foolishly as he began to pick and choose. But just then, 2 strange marks suddenly appeared in the void, rushing towards Xiang Beifei as if they were about to merge into his body. These 2 marks were only an inch in size, golden in color, with a circle the size of a thumbnail in between, flanked by 2 small wing-like features, one black and one white, flapping constantly. Xiang Beifei thought they were protective marks left by Kai Kuan's race, such as marking the murderer's body for retribution from the clan. He waved his hand to try to destroy the marks. But these 2 strange marks were merely flicked away, not destroyed. The strange power on the marks was incredibly strong, far beyond what he, at the immortal realm, could annihilate. Get away! Get away! Xiang Beifei impatiently flicked the marks away repeatedly. The 2 marks continued to buzz around him like flies, trying to drill into his body. So annoying! Xiang Beifei flicked his fingers, and from his fingertips emerged the black and white flames of burning yin and yang, glaring menacingly at the marks. As he prepared to incinerate the marks, the still shocked He Yunfang snapped out of it and hurriedly said, "Wait, wait! Don't act. These are Dao Palace marks. You can't burn them away." "Dao Palace marks? What are they for?" Xiang Beifei asked in confusion. He Yunfang and He Qing exchanged a glance, looking helpless. They're truly naive children, not even knowing something so important. Dao Palace marks. They're used to mark the geniuses on the Earth ranking and Heavenly ranking. He Yunfang touched his forehead, then explained, "The contests for the Earth ranking and Heavenly ranking don't necessarily have to be held in the Dao Palace. Normally, if two people engage in a fight anywhere in the Edge Corner airspace, even if no one witnesses it, the rankings on the Heavenly and Earth rankings can still be updated, relying on the Dao Palace marks." "Oh, is that so?" "Exactly. If both individuals are geniuses on the rankings and they run into each other and fight, once a winner is determined, these marks will automatically recognize their rankings and adjust accordingly. If someone not on the ranking defeats a genius on the ranking, then the person on the ranking will have their mark transferred to the one without a mark." He Yunfang looked at those two marks with awe in his eyes, filled with emotion, and continued, "You're currently in this situation, since you originally had no Dao mark, but have defeated Tang Yingxin and Kai Kuan. These two Dao Palace marks are now supposed to be assigned to you, determining your ranking." He Yunfang was truly in awe of Xiang Beifei, completely impressed. When he was young, he didn't have the talent to make it onto the Earth ranking. Even though he's lived for thousands of years, his strength still doesn't match any genius on the Earth ranking. Yet this 23-year-old human kid managed to earn two Dao Palace marks in just one encounter. People truly can't be compared to one another. So what will happen if they're assigned to me? Will they recognize my identity as a member of the human race? Xiang Beifei continued waving his hand to chase away the two Dao Palace marks, showing no interest in them. Well, He Yunfang suddenly remembered that Xiang Beifei is from the human race. And in the Edge Corner airspace, the human race is hunted by the Dao Palace. At this moment, He Qing also realized and, after a moment of contemplation, said, "No, the Dao Palace marks only identify rankings. They won't mark your identity. I also have one here." She rolled up her sleeve, showing her wrist to Xiang Beifei. On her wrist, a golden Dao Palace mark was clearly visible, with the words Earth Ranking 188 written in the center of the mark. "Take another look at these two marks." He Qing pointed at the marks flying around like flies, indicating for Xiang Beifei to take a closer look. Xiang Beifei carefully examined the flying marks and indeed noticed the numbers on the two Dao Palace marks, with one marked Earth Ranking 199 and the other Earth Ranking 98. "Since you were never on the ranking before, now that you've killed Kai Kuan and Tang Yingxin, both marks should attach to you. The mark of Kai Kuan will expel the mark of Tang Yingxin, due to 98 foot being a higher level. Higher level marks can expel lower level marks. When the Earth Ranking 98 Dao Palace mark attaches to your wrist, it will first collect your age to determine if you meet the criteria for the Heaven and Earth ranking. If you meet the Earth ranking within 1,000 years or Heavenly ranking within 3,000 years, your ranking will be acknowledged. Only collect age, and cultivation level. But on the Heaven and Earth ranking in Divine Feather City, I saw the Earth ranking has many detailed names, including names and races, Xiang Beifei said. For those ranked for the first time, you need to go to the Dao Palace to register. After that, registration isn't required anymore. You can find any city with a Dao Palace branch to confirm the mark. Is it possible not to register? Xiang Beifei asked. He Yunfang and He Qing exchanged glances, seemingly at a loss for words. Normally, no one chooses not to register. Is everyone so proactive? My goodness, is there a need to ask? Being on the ranking gives you a chance to bring glory to your ancestors. It's an honor bestowed by the Dao Palace. Your status rises correspondingly, and even when you visit major cities, you receive special treatment, and others must treat you with respect. He Yunfang felt a bit of a headache. This child is truly as pure as a blank slate. Not to mention, you are now ranked 98th, which means if you register now, you can receive a large amount of breath soil. Because it's the first time on the ranking, you can immediately claim 103 zhang of breath soil. He Yunfeng said this, then looked at Xiang Beifei with great regret, heaved a heavy sigh. Due to the sensitive identity issue with the human race, Xiang Beifei currently cannot register. That also means Xiang Beifei cannot obtain the 103 zhang of breath soil. Zhang. For races like the crane race, it's already a huge fortune. For ordinary races, if a young talent from their home ranks 98th on the Earth ranking, they can't wait to rush to the Dao Palace to register, as the 103 zhang of breath soil could be used to expand a lot of territory. You're right. I almost forgot about this. If you don't claim the 103 zhang of breath soil, it would be a waste. Shao Qing, why don't you defeat me, and I'll give this ranking to you. Xiang Beifei continued trying to chase away the flying Dao Palace marks. He had just attempted to use Burning Yang and Burning Yin to burn them, but found out they couldn't be destroyed. His Burning Yang and Burning Yin have their limitations. A more powerful spiritual power can completely withstand them, which is the case with these two Dao Palace marks here. He Qing said somewhat irritatedly, "It's not that simple. Not to mention that I don't have the strength for the 98th rank. I can't hold on to this ranking at all. Do you think the Dao Palace marks are so ignorant to let you fool them? If they could be easily given away, I would have already let the younger ones from my family take turns doing it, to claim many breaths of soil, as there's a reward the first time you're on the ranking, right?" Makes sense. Xiang Beifei nodded slightly. After a while, he puzzledly asked, "Since the Dao Palace marks will first determine age, now that I've killed Tang Yingxin and Kai Kuan, logically my rank is 98th. So doesn't that mean 199th is unoccupied? In Edge Corner airspace, there's no rule against infighting, murder and robbery are too common. A genius on the ranking could fall by accident. If they do, what happens if the ranking becomes unoccupied? The Dao Palace has its own unique rules for selecting people. If a genius on the ranking is killed and there's a vacancy, the Dao Palace will appoint someone to temporarily fill the position. This person is usually a Dao Palace official, generally someone who was ranked once before, but later fell off the ranking due to age, temporarily filling in. He's different from us. We can refuse challenges for 10 years, but they must constantly accept challenges at specific Dao Palace locations. If you're confident, you can go to the Dao Palace to defeat him anytime. After a pause, He Qing further explained, "This person typically can't last long. They'll soon be off the ranking. After all, no one can withstand being challenged all the time. The ranking is updated very frequently, sometimes changing a dozen times a day. Rest assured, the Dao Palace will handle everything. You don't need to worry about this." Yes, young Master Xiang. What you should consider now is how you plan to handle the 98th mark. He Yunfeng genuinely regretted Xiang Beifei's ranking. Having such a high ranking but unable to receive the breath soil was such a waste. How about I disguise myself as someone from your crane race and then register? You'll be found out. The Dao Palace isn't so easy to fool. If you go to register, they'll verify your true identity. You can't hide it. He Qing shook her head. Then forget it. I don't need it. To be honest, Xiang Beifei wasn't really concerned about the 103 zhang of soil. But those two Dao Palace marks continued flying around him. "Why haven't you left?" "I said I don't want to be on the ranking," Xiang Beifei impatiently said to the two Dao Palace marks. He Yunfeng said helplessly, "They won't leave until confirming your age. Speaking of which..." He suddenly looked up in shock, looking at Xiang Beifei again. "I remember they mentioned that Dao Palace marks are incredibly powerful, created by masters of the ancestral Dao realm, and even experts of the Ascension realm can't stop them from attaching and scanning for age. It's a mandatory attachment and no one can stop it. How are you able to stop it?" He became increasingly astonished, because Xiang Beifei was constantly driving away these two Dao Palace marks. But normally, aside from masters of the ancestral Dao realm, no one can prevent them from scanning for age. Yet these two Dao Palace marks were like flies being shooed away, unable to forcibly attach to Xiang Beifei. "How did you do it?" He Qing also reacted and looked at Xiang Beifei with even more surprise. "Maybe it's because I'm part of the human race?" Xiang Beifei replied calmly. "Anyway, it seems like the Edge Corner airspace doesn't really understand the human race, so blaming everything on humans seems like the best way. He Yunfeng and his daughter exchanged glances. After thinking for a long time, they found that this indeed seemed like the only explanation. The human race is truly mysterious, and perhaps there's a reason why they are listed by the Dao Palace as a target for pursuit. But if you don't let them possess you to verify the situation, they won't leave. They will probably keep following you, He Qing reminded. You can let them possess you to confirm your age and cultivation level. If your identity is a concern, you don't need to register, He Yunfeng said. All right then. Xiang Beifei reluctantly extended his hand, not stopping it anymore. Whiz, whiz. 2 Dao Palace symbols swiftly drilled into Xiang Beifei's wrist, sticking completely to it. A peculiar aura began to flow from the Dao Palace symbols, entering his body and merging with his spiritual power, then proceeding to examine his physical condition. However, at this moment Xiang Beifei suddenly discovered the nature of the Dao Palace symbols. Initially, he couldn't do anything about these 2 Dao Palace symbols, but when they merged into his body and collided with his yin and yang energy, he suddenly realized that these 2 Dao Palace symbols were, in essence, a powerful formation. By using the formation to identify the attached subject, determining the true strength of the target, and then feeding it back through the powerful formation, this is the essence of the Dao Palace symbol. This formation is indeed very powerful. It's impossible to break it just with the Dao Palace symbols. But Xiang Beifei realized he might be able to mimic the essence of the symbols using yin and yang energy and modify the information they display. Wait, does that mean I can now make the Dao Palace symbols reveal specific information? Xiang Beifei thought. He Qing had mentioned that to confirm one's ranking, they have to register at the Dao Palace branch, which is something everyone must do. But Xiang Beifei doesn't need to register. He can modify the symbol's information, causing misjudgment. This means he can make the Dao Palace symbols believe Zhang San defeated Tang Yingxin, and Li Si defeated Kai Kuan, and both Zhang San and Li Si would be mistakenly identified on the ranking list. If he wishes, he can change the Earth ranking list to Earth ranking 199th, Zhang San. Earth ranking 98th, Li Si. He suddenly became interested and immediately started pondering it. Woof woof, Xiaohe excitedly suggested. Since they can freely alter the symbol's information, why not create a new identity and take over the entire Earth ranking? That's exactly what I was thinking. But we need a unified name, something instantly recognizable. Xiang Beifei and Xiaohe began discussing immediately, with Era and Yumong joining in as well, the 4 of them engaging in a lively discussion using their special communication method. The human race definitely won't work, otherwise it'll be troublesome. Upon arriving at the Edge Corner airspace, they discovered the enmity between the Dao Palace and his grandfather. They even pursue all humans and list them as must-eliminate targets. Xiang Beifei remembered this well. He decided to direct his spearhead towards the Dao Palace, disrupting the rules set by the Dao Palace. Thus, they planned to create a new race called Broken Dao Race. Then it was simple. Pick a few classy names. This way, the Earth ranking would display the names he wanted. What names should we choose? Woof woof. Howl howl. Yu yu. The 3 little creatures immediately began arguing. No need to argue since yin and yang energy can be used to create new identities. All your identities will be adopted. Let's use these new identities to dominate the rankings. Xiang Beifei prepared to cause some commotion in the Edge Corner airspace. The first step was to find people on the Earth ranking, defeat them, and then replace their names. He wanted to have the Broken Dao race, this fictitious mysterious race, dominate the Heaven and Earth ranking list. If you want to hunt down humans, I will mess up your ranking list and anger those people in the Dao Palace. Xiang Beifei was still playing with the 2 Dao Palace symbols using yin and yang energy, while He Yunfeng and He Qing didn't know what Xiang Beifei was contemplating, assuming he was slowly adapting to the Dao Palace symbols. At this time, the first Dao Palace symbol had already flown out from Xiang Beifei's wrist. The one that left should be Tang Yingxin's, so the one still on your wrist is Kai Kuan's. I think the list on the Earth ranking has probably been updated by now. He Yunfeng looked at the other Dao Palace symbol attached to Xiang Beifei's wrist, feeling amazed. Is it updated just like that? That's really efficient, Xiang Beifei said. He Yunfeng nodded and said, "Of course. The Dao Palace symbols are extremely powerful. This 98th ranked Dao Palace symbol will stay with you from now on. And once it adheres to you, it can't be removed. Only until the next duel." But before He Yunfeng could finish, Xiang Beifei stretched out his hand and ripped it off with a whiz sound, like tearing off a piece of tape, and removed the Dao Palace symbol from his wrist. "Ah!" He Yunfeng's eyes widened instantly, asking in shock, You, how did you take it off?" "It wasn't stuck very securely anyway," Xiang Beifei muttered to himself, pinching the Dao Palace insignia between two fingers and casually flicking it twice. He Yunfeng, He Qing. The father and daughter were completely dumbfounded, especially He Qing, when she saw Xiang Beifei tear off the Dao Palace insignia that had already attached itself to him. She even momentarily suspected that this Dao Palace insignia had been modified and couldn't help but also touch the insignia on her own wrist. But not to mention tearing it off, the insignia was tightly fused with her wrist, essentially untouchable. Why could this guy just tear off the Dao Palace insignia like that? Did he get a fake Dao Palace insignia? Xiang Beifei was still fiddling with that Dao Palace insignia, but the father and daughter were already in chaos in their minds. This guy not only could kill Kai Kuan, who was invincible in the mid-stage of immortality, but also could treat the Dao Palace insignia like a toy, tearing it off at will. He was practically a little monster. He Yunfeng also secretly rejoiced that he had encountered such a little monster back then, and fortunately, their crane race didn't neglect him. Otherwise, it might have been disastrous. "Let's call it a day. We must hurry back. There was a fight here. It won't be good if more people are drawn here later," Xiang Beifei reminded them. He Yunfeng and He Qing only just came to their senses. Now the Dao Stone was secured, Kai Kuan had been killed, and breath soil seemed to be recovered, so they hurriedly decided to leave first. The group checked the scene. Actually, there was nothing much to deal with because the void has a devouring ability, and the aftermath of their battle would slowly be swallowed up, leaving no traces. Upon confirming this, the three swiftly departed. 3 days later, Edgecorner airspace exploded with excitement. A major piece of news spread across all cities big and small in Edgecorner airspace. In every city with a Dao Palace branch, information had already been updated on the tall steels of the Earth ranking. Earth ranking 199th place. Broken Dao race. Ragged 110 years old. Early stage of immortality. Earth ranking 98th place. Broken Dao race. Broken Hat 108 years old. Early stage of immortality. When everyone discovered two unfamiliar names appeared on the list, it immediately caused a huge stir. Back in the day, the Kuan race prodigy, Kai Kuan, defeated a late stage of immortality talent with his mid-stage of immortality, becoming the only mid-stage of immortality master in the top 100 of the Earth ranking, causing a massive sensation, and to this day everyone still holds this person in high regard, treating him as a future genius of the Earth ranking. But no one expected. A dark horse suddenly emerged, a prodigy named Broken Hat, who had somehow defeated Kai Kuan and taken his ranking. Moreover, this person was more terrifying because his cultivation displayed was the early stage of immortality. It's important to know that the top 100 were all late-stage immortality masters. Back in the day, only Kai Kuan was in the mid-stage, which was already record-breaking, but no one anticipated now someone broke this record, and this time it's with early-stage immortality strength that made the list. Everyone was stunned. Not just the top 100, but there's no one in the entire Earth ranking at the early stage of immortality. Most strikingly, this genius was only 108 years old. And already stepped into the immortality period? This is just too terrifying. The appearance of Broken Hat shattered everyone's imagination. Not only did it refresh the lowest strength record in the top 100 of the Earth ranking, but it also refreshed the record of the youngest genius on the entire Earth ranking. When did Edgecorner Airspace produce such a terrifying genius? Hey, have you heard of the Broken Dao race? No impression at all. They actually defeated Kai Kuan. Is it fake? An early stage of immortality can defeat the invincible mid-stage Kai Kuan? When did early stage of immortality get on the Earth ranking? How could it be fake? The Earth ranking list has been confirmed. Could it still be fake? If it were fake, the Tao Palace would have corrected it long ago. Not only was Kai Kuan defeated, even Tang Ingsen was defeated. My heavens! Who are these ragged and broken hat? I don't know. I have no impression at all. Could it be some hidden ancient race? But there's no record in the Edge Corner airspace. Edge Corner airspace has undergone billions of years. Many races have vanished entirely, like the human race and giant spirit race. They've all gone extinct. Then what exactly is this broken Tao race? Kai Kuan practiced with Kuan Tao. Tang Ingsen with Bird Tao. So does this broken Tao race practice with broken Tao? 3,000 great Taos, and there's actually a broken Tao? It seems I am truly ignorant. For a time, discussions abounded, and the broken Tao race became the topic of conversation in every city streets and alleys during leisure time. Many people were delving into the origins of the broken Tao race, eager to know what kind of sacred being it is, and how, just upon its emergence, it directly occupied 2 spots on the Earth ranking. Everyone wanted to know who could defeat Kai Kuan, while in early immortality stage, who exactly is the genius Broken Hat. Everyone was impatient to meet this legendary figure. A month passed. The news had already spread everywhere. Even the little mischievous children knew about the existence of the broken Tao race. And pulling aside anyone on the street, they've heard of the tales of Ragged and Broken Hat. But throughout the Edge Corner airspace, no one had heard of the broken Tao race. It was like a new race that suddenly appeared, remaining silent until suddenly astounding everyone. Most importantly, the Tao Palace didn't issue any statement nor corrected this ranking, meaning the Tao Palace acknowledged the existence of Ragged and Broken Hat. This enveloped the 199th ranked Ragged and the 98th ranked Broken Hat in a layer of inscrutable mystery. Deep within the Edge Corner airspace, the vast void was shrouded in gloom. Golden beams appeared in the sky, slowly flowing. In that void, everything seemed twisted. Halos converged into clusters of golden clouds, appearing exceedingly enigmatic. Broken Tao race? What kind of race is this? When did the Edge Corner airspace have such a race? An ancient, hazy voice reverberated through this world. It was a man's voice, very aged, as if from a seasoned old man, traversing time and space, through the changes of mountains and rivers, overwhelmingly shaking the soul. I don't know, after the Heavenly Tao battle 10,000 years ago, we established new order in the Edge Corner airspace. Many ancient divine races within the Edge Corner airspace were heavily wounded, hidden from the world. Perhaps the broken Tao race is indeed a mysterious ancient divine race. Another ethereal woman's voice resonated, melodious and clear, like a stream echoing through the mountains. No sound in the world seemed more beautiful than this. I've never heard of this race. Are you sure the rules of heaven and earth ranking weren't disrupted? The people below also confirmed it. The earth ranking situation is all unharmed. The Tao Palace's seal is intact. This matter is very strange. But currently, it's still under investigation, the registration place of this individual. Maybe soon there will be news. Broken Tao race, Broken Tao. Broken Tao, does it mean to crack the heavenly Tao? Dare to take this name. Could this race truly be an ancient gem? The aged voice seemed to be pondering. After a few moments, he further stated, "Send someone to investigate clearly. Any race wanting to emerge needs to be under the jurisdiction of the Tao Palace, or else there is no need to emerge." The person's voice suddenly became solemn and authoritative, carrying an irrefutable force, making the clouds of the entire void freeze. His words seemed to be the decree of the heavenly Tao, with imperial aura. All things in the world were silent like cicadas in cold. None dared disobey. Yes, people have already been dispatched, speaking of which, if Dao Yen had no issues we could immediately ascertain, but now Dao Yen has malfunctioned, bringing us great trouble. How exactly did Dao Yen malfunction? Do you have any clues? The woman hesitated. I always feel the matter of Dao Yen is related to the chaos in Common Valley 37 years ago. But Dao Yen had problems 23 years ago, the woman stated. I know the times don't match, but I always feel there's some connection between the two. The man fell silent for a moment, then asked, "What about Father Pu? Any news of him?" "Not for the moment. Even using Dao Yen, there's no way to predict his whereabouts. He has hidden himself well. The giant spirit race should have left the Edge Corner airspace, maybe in the Great Desolate Realm." "Went to the Great Desolate Realm?" "The giant spirit race is the original race of the Edge Corner airspace. If they go to the Great Desolate Realm, they would die." The woman was surprised. "He is Father Pu." The void fell into a silence. The two seemed to be pondering over this issue. The giant spirit race isn't such a simple race. Find him. The matter of Dao Yen he definitely knows. Understood. It's been over a month since returning to the Crane clan. He handed both Dao stones to the He family father and daughter, letting them contemplate. He Yunfang and the others, upon obtaining these 2 Dao stones, were shaken to the core. All the elders of the Crane clan were astounded by the Dao embryos on these stones. However, once the Crane clan calmed down, they unanimously decided to let He Qing, with the highest potential, be the first to comprehend the Dao stones. There are elders in the Crane clan who have a slightly higher cultivation than He Qing, but they have lived for over 10,000 years. He Qing has the highest talent and is currently a genius on the Earth ranking, making her the priority for self-improvement. Therefore, He Qing took these 2 Dao stones and went into seclusion, carrying the hopes of the entire clan. As for Xiang Beifei, he is now revered as the guardian deity of the Crane clan. He Yunfang did not disclose Xiang Beifei's identity but specifically vacated his own seclusion cave for Xiang Beifei to ensure his quiet cultivation, fearing any neglect towards this mighty god. Joking aside, he could easily annihilate Kai Kuan, who was invincible in the mid-eternal life stage. He Yunfang wouldn't blink an eye to hand over even his Crane Dao courtyard to Xiang Beifei. In the long run, having such an expert in the clan is a blessing accrued over 10,000 years for the Crane clan. Of course, He Yunfang didn't tell the other elders about Xiang Beifei's identity, only saying that Xiang Beifei was a mysterious Dao practitioner who once saved him, an expert who has lived for tens of thousands of years with unfathomable strength, advising everyone not to disturb him. This past month, Xiang Beifei has been occupying He Yunfang's personal small cave for cultivation. He Yunfang's personal small cave isn't large, just a small room of less than 10 square meters. In the past, He Yunfang even dismantled his own cave to gather funds to buy the second Dao stone. To properly accommodate this great god, Xiang Beifei, He Yunfang planned to demolish some breath soil from the Crane Dao courtyard to build a big cave for Xiang Beifei as soon as he returned. Xiang Beifei quickly stopped him. Having almost gone bankrupt to buy the Dao stones, demolishing more would leave them homeless. He expressed that he had breath soil, having nearly 300 feet of breath soil obtained from Kai Kuan and Tang Yingxin, plus the 300 feet of breath soil that He Yunfang used to purchase the Dao stone, totaling 600 feet of breath soil, which exceeded the entirety of the Crane clan's assets. Originally, Xiang Beifei intended to give the breath soil obtained from Kai Kuan and Tang Yingxin to He Yunfang, but He Yunfang firmly refused, believing that Xiang Beifei saving them was an immense favor, and he couldn't casually accept these things. Xiang Beifei didn't mind and used the 300 feet of breath soil to build a large cave near the Crane Dao courtyard, also helping to refurbish the Crane Dao courtyard. He planned to leave the cave behind as a gift once he left. This past month, Xiang Beifei hasn't left the Crane Dao courtyard, spending his time quietly cultivating in his cave. Speaking of which, what exactly is this thing? Xiang Beifei sat on the cliff, pondering the Bagua mirror in front of him. The Subaru constellation required 7 spiritual power crystals of the initial stage of eternal life. Recently, he gathered the spiritual power crystals of the initial stage of eternal life, buying one himself, and obtaining a horn and a 10,000-year snow fruit, 2 rare ice crystals containing spiritual power of the initial stage of eternal life, from Kai Kuan and Tang Yingxin. Xiang Beifei refined them into spiritual power crystals, unlocking the seal on the Subaru constellation, subsequently obtaining this Bagua mirror. Subaru constellation. Dao divination mirror. The Dao divination mirror is only 3 inches wide, stone-carved, with some parts worn smooth, but the patterns of the Bagua Dao stone are very clear. However, the surface of the mirror looks odd, more like a puddle than a typical mirror. It could reflect his image, but when poked with a finger, the mirror surface rippled, transforming into a wisp of smoke that began to drift. The smoke continually formed into strange shapes, resembling human figures and mountains, spiraling mysteriously, making it difficult to discern what was happening. The Spirit Gathering book had no detailed record on how to use the Tao divination mirror, yet Xiang Beifei wasn't surprised, as many things he acquired from the Spirit Gathering book lacked explanations, leaving him unsure of their usage. He studied the Tao divination mirror for a long time, infusing it with his spiritual power, blood, and simulating yin and yang primordial energy. But every attempt led to the mirror surface reflecting his face to start misting, forming various incomprehensible images. After a moment, the Tao divination mirror would calm down, returning to a flat mirror surface. It's really tiring without a user manual. Xiang Beifei put the Tao divination mirror away. He has obtained many things from the Spirit Gathering book, many of which he still doesn't comprehend. The Yu divine steel of the Void constellation initially lacked explanation, but the old giant spirit Father Pu clarified for him. It's a powerful divine steel capable of suppressing the Ruishui River, and he could somewhat comprehend the divine patterns on it. The stone tower of the Wei constellation currently houses the life essence of Taoist Qingyang. Although Taoist Qingyang is still in slumber, it's confirmed it can nurture life essence. As for the mustard seed and palm from the Chamber constellation, the abundant seal from the Bai constellation, the domain talisman from the Lu constellation, and now the Tao divination mirror, he knows nothing. Oh well, it doesn't matter. The more skills, the better. He yawned and stopped worrying about these matters. If it can be useful, then great. If not, that's fine too. Xiang Beifei continued to cultivate his yin-yang secret. He now plans to use a secondary character to dominate the rankings, disrupting the rules set by the Tao Palace, but the problem is that his current realm is, strictly speaking, considered elementary in the Edge Corner airspace. Although Xiang Beifei's combat power and realm aren't directly proportional, improving his realm is undoubtedly beneficial. Once his cultivation rises a bit more, it will be time for him to challenge the rankings. Ever since mastering the yin-yang source qi, he found his cultivation becoming increasingly smooth, with the 3,000 great Daos under his control. He could simulate various Daos using the yin-yang source qi and enhance himself through the comprehension of each Dao. Another month quietly passed. He Qing, supported by all the elders of the clan, secluded herself to comprehend the two Dao stones. She perceived the essence of the words Dao and No. The mere essence of these two words benefited her greatly. The 2 months of seclusion deepened her understanding of the Crane Dao, making her feel that her Dao had entered a completely new realm. In her eyes, the words Dao and No seemed to open a gateway to a new world for her. She even felt that her understanding of the Crane Dao was no longer confined to the Crane Dao, but elevated to the level of the Flying Bird Dao, even surpassing the Flying Bird Dao in power. She realized that if she continued cultivating in this manner, she would no longer need to fear the Flying Bird Dao, which means Tang Yingxin's Flying Bird Dao techniques would become ineffective against her. He Qing was overjoyed upon discovering this. If this realization could be imparted to all members of the crane race, they wouldn't need to worry about being countered by the bird race's Dao embryos when facing them. Strange. Why does this Dao essence feel so familiar? He Qing carefully experienced this Dao essence. After her crane Dao advanced a notch, this feeling was like when she faced Tang Yingxin in Divine Feather City. Back then, during the duel with Tang Yingxin in the arena, his Flying Bird Dao techniques became ineffective against her, and she felt exactly like this. But at that time, I hadn't yet comprehended this Dao essence. He Qing furrowed her brow, lost in thought. At that time, she hadn't comprehended the Crane Dao to this extent. So how could she have been immune to the counteraction of the Flying Bird Dao techniques? Could it be that the owner of the Dao stone was present back then? He Qing was startled. How could this be possible? How could the owner of the Dao stone have been present? Besides, that person is at least a senior in the Ascension realm, who by all accounts wouldn't get involved in such trivial matters. She couldn't figure it out. Nonetheless, she couldn't make sense of it either. Realizing she had been secluded for 2 months, It was time to let others comprehend the Dao stones. She left her cave dwelling and flew to the Crane Dao courtyard, where she found He Yunfeng busy reinforcing the Crane Dao courtyard's formation. Upon seeing his daughter coming out of seclusion, He Yunfeng immediately set his tasks aside, beaming with happiness. "How is it? Gained any insights?" He Yunfeng eagerly asked. This concerned the future of the crane race. If He Qing could improve from the Dao stone, the entire crane race would benefit. "The Dao stones can make our crane race stronger." He Qing slightly released her aura, and a wave of spiritual power, different from before, swept over. This spiritual power, with the inherent nature of the crane race, was even more potent, compensating for the crane race's weaknesses and elevating her strength by a level. "You've become stronger." He Yunfeng excitedly looked at his daughter. Although his realm wasn't as high as hers, he had the discernment to immediately notice that her aura was more refined and powerful than before. Even without breaking through to the mid-stage of Yongsheng, she was far stronger than before. "Yes, I feel confident enough to challenge those ahead of me. Perhaps I might try challenging Chu Xin." "Ranked 140. He Qing said confidently. "Ranked 140. He Yunfeng clenched his fists, overjoyed. He Qing is currently ranked 188. If she could truly defeat the genius ranked 140, it would mean He Qing could bring more breath soil revenue to the crane race in the future. "Good, good, good." He Yunfeng said, "Good" 3 times, bursting into laughter as this event was worth celebrating for the entire clan. "I will soon record my insights for the elders to reference. Especially you, father. You must also comprehend the Dao essence of this Dao stone. Perhaps you could also step into the mid-stage of Yongsheng." He Qing added. "Definitely." He Yunfeng sighed with emotion. "Speaking of which, we truly owe gratitude to the owner of the Dao stone. I just wonder who the senior is, and where the remaining Dao stones are." He Qing was also curious, but instead of being overly eager, she asked, "By the way, during my seclusion, what new changes have happened on the Earth ranking list? Let me have a look at the information." He Yunfeng came back to his senses, then wore a very peculiar expression, giving a wry smile. "If we talk about changes in the Earth ranking, indeed there have been some. Honestly, the entire Edge Corner airspace is in an uproar now." "An uproar? Is there a new genius?" "It's 2. I'm not sure whether it's 1 or 2. There's a master called Broken Hat." He Yunfeng was bemused. "What's the matter?" He Qing found it strange. In the void, a mist-enshrouded peak floated there, steep and upright, with clouds swirled around it, resembling a transcendent sanctuary. At the cliff edge of the peak, a lush banyan tree grew, with a delicate wooden house underneath, quiet and serene. This was now Xiang Beifei's place for meditation, approximately a few dozen miles away from the Crane Dao courtyard. The entire peak was enshrouded by a layer of mist, which swirled in a peculiar manner, as if harmonizing with something mystical and strange. Xiang Beifei circulated his yin-yang source qi, contemplating his Dao essence. As he unveiled his comprehension of the 3,000 great Daos, everything on the peak came under his control. He was the absolute master of this domain of Dao essence. Everything operated in an orderly manner. Suddenly, all of the peak's aura began to retract and transformed into black and white, gradually returning to Xiang Beifei's body. He opened his eyes, and a glimmer of black and white flashed through. "The mid-stage of Yongsheng doesn't seem that difficult. I really don't understand why they spend hundreds of years," he muttered, stretched, feeling refreshed. "Woof woof." Xiaohe, seeing Xiang Beifei awake, immediately bounced around excitedly, looking quite impatient. "No need to rush. We'll soon use the 3rd secondary character to hit the rankings." Xiang Beifei knew what Xiaohe was anxious about. In a few days, a genius was ready to defend the rankings on the Earth ranking list. It's promised to use the secondary character to dominate the list. Timing has to be precise. Daoist Xiang. He Qing's voice came from afar. Along with the voice, her figure landed on the cliff. "Huh. Becoming so polite now? Xiang Beifei raised an eyebrow. Yi Qing's mouth twitched slightly. She now realized that even though he was just 23 younger than her, his strength was so terrifying that she could no longer treat him like a little kid. Then again, I actually have something to discuss with you. Do you know about the demon tentacle race? I was just wondering, with a master ranking 103rd called Su Ju. Oh yes, I have some impression of him. I was fortunate enough to meet him once, very powerful indeed. Yi Qing paused, then asked, wait a minute, you're not planning to hit the rankings, are you? No, why would I? Are you suspecting me? Xiang Beifei replied in a serious tone. Yi Qing looked suspiciously at Xiang Beifei, examining him from head to toe. This guy always felt a bit odd. Don't worry, I'm a very well-behaved person, Xiang Beifei said earnestly. That's true. The day after Yi Qing met Xiang Beifei, she took him to Divine Feather City. Due to his human race identity, Yi Qing was constantly worried that Xiang Beifei would do something to expose himself, remaining vigilant and on edge the whole journey. Yet this young lad didn't stir up any trouble in Divine Feather City. He obediently stayed by her side, except for sneaking out to stroll the snack street during the auction to satisfy his cravings. He didn't seem to cause any mischief. Kids, after all, liking food is understandable, isn't it? The only time he took action was because Kai Kuan and Tang Yingxin were aggressively cornering them, leaving no room for escape. So Xiang Beifei decided to step in and eliminate them, giving both father and daughter quite a scare. In the 2 months since they returned, he has been quietly cultivating here without making a fuss. Thinking about it now, Xiang Beifei does seem to be a remarkably, unusually well-behaved person. Yes, he probably wouldn't take the initiative to stir up trouble. So young and powerful, yet so well-behaved, is truly rare. Yi Qing couldn't help but sigh, feeling she had gained a completely new understanding of Xiang Beifei, realizing she had been overly concerned. By the way, my father just told me the Edge Corner airspace is in an uproar, and he didn't dare to disturb you while you were cultivating, so he sent me to check on you. Just when you came out, how did you manage to bring about the Broken Dao race? When did you register at the Dao Palace branch? Yi Qing recalled her purpose for coming this time, as there were 2 remarkably strange names appearing on the ranking list, Ragged and Broken Hat, from the Broken Dao race, and these rankings were previously held by Tang Yingxin and Kai Kuan. But she couldn't figure out, originally the 98th rank belonged to Xiang Beifei. Logically, the 199th should belong to someone else, yet somehow it became 2 unfamiliar people. I didn't register. I've been quietly cultivating here this whole time. Xiang Beifei leisurely sat on the cliff, examining the latest Earth ranking list that Yi Qing handed over. Didn't go? So this 98th ranking Broken Hat and the 199th Ragged aren't you? Yi Qing asked. Perhaps the Dao Palace's imprint has a problem. How could one person occupy 2 rankings, right? The Dao Palace imprint can have issues? Isn't it quite normal to have issues? Look, can't I just tear this Dao Palace imprint off and stick it back on? Xiang Beifei fiddled with the 98th ranking Dao Palace imprint, showing it to Yi Qing. With a snap sound, the imprint was torn off. Then with a swoosh, the imprint was stuck back. Snap, swoosh, snap, swoosh. The Dao Palace imprint, symbolizing genius, honor, and status, was being casually toyed with like a sticker. Yi Qing. She rubbed her forehead, unsure of how to refute it. How could it be? If Ragged and Broken Hat aren't you, but they happen to appear, what is going on? Yi Qing looked at the utterly humiliated Dao Palace imprint with growing suspicion. Xiang Beifei seriously stroked his chin, thought earnestly for a moment, then said, I feel it might be because our human race can't appear on the Heaven and Earth ranking. The human race can't appear on the Heaven and Earth ranking? Yi Qing really wasn't sure about this point, since she had indeed never seen anyone from the human race on the Heaven and Earth ranking. Yes, you see, the Dao Palace said no mercy for killing our human race, so they must be excluding us human race, right? Our human race probably can't make it onto the list. This explains why the Dao Palace imprint can't mark me. He gave another snap and tore off the Dao Palace imprint. I guess that's how it is, the Dao Palace imprint can't mark me, And with the Earth ranking showing a vacancy, once Dao Palace confirmed the situation, they decided on new geniuses to replace, thus appearing with two broken Dao race geniuses. Xiang Beifei confidently speculated. His speculation was reasonable, with a seriously earnest expression, making it highly convincing. Is that so? He Qing became puzzled. It certainly is. Didn't you say it yourself? Geniuses on the Earth ranking never lack. There's never a vacancy. If geniuses are killed by outsiders, Dao Palace will find someone to replace, to provide a challenge for everyone. But I have never heard of the broken Dao race. A lot of races remain hidden, don't they? Maybe they emerged recently and started to shine. Think about it, if they think Ragged and Broken Hat are the same person, how could they just let it be? Xiang Beifei said. He Qing was half skeptical. What he said seems to make sense. The Dao Palace represents authority in the Edge Corner airspace. They handle matters without any ambiguity. Such sudden unreasonable occurrences with the Heaven and Earth ranking would certainly be corrected. But for some reason, she felt something was odd, yet couldn't quite explain why. Speaking of which, how is your insight into the Dao Stone? Xiang Beifei shifted the topic. At the mention of the Dao Stone, He Qing's eyes immediately lit up, sighing, I really owe it to the Ascension Realm Senior. I have carefully contemplated the unrestrained Dao embryos hidden within the word, no. It's like providing a new perspective to my Crane Dao cultivation. I realized, I seem to have cultivated with shackles all along. Now I've completely let go of them. That senior is truly magnificent. Xiang Beifei chuckled wryly. By the way, I don't need these two Dao stones for now. My father asked me to give them to you first. Do you need to comprehend them on your own? Or should I explain my insights about them? He Qing took out the Dao stone and asked. If it weren't for Xiang Beifei, she probably wouldn't even be able to keep this Dao stone, which is why she was prepared to lend it to Xiang Beifei today. I don't need them either. The Dao essence of the Dao stone doesn't really align with me. However, I suggest you sell both Dao stones. Xiang Beifei said. How can that be? The Dao stones are so precious. We can't just sell them recklessly. The elders in our clan have discussed it and decided to keep the Dao stones as the clan's treasured heirloom to aid the most outstanding descendants of the Crane race in comprehending the Crane Dao. He Qing replied. Xiang Beifei shook his head helplessly. Without strength, you won't be able to keep them. You need to understand that. I understand we will carefully protect the Dao stone, but your suggestion is valid. Perhaps when other Dao stones appear again in the Edge Corner airspace, I will consider swapping this Dao stone. After all, the insights from that senior aren't just a few words, but an entire sentence. He Qing was now waiting for the remaining Dao stones to emerge. Xiang Beifei rubbed his forehead. When the remaining Dao stones will emerge, isn't it up to himself? He Qing asked again. By the way, Suju will be holding the ranking. I plan to go see it and determine the gap between us. Are you going? No. I've been feeling quite insightful recently. I plan to focus on my cultivation here. Xiang Beifei stood at the edge of the cliff, spreading his arms leisurely, as if embracing nature. All right, I won't disturb you then. If you need anything, feel free to ask. I need to go help the other elders comprehend the Dao stone. He Qing didn't force him and bade farewell. Take care. Xiang Beifei watched He Qing's departing figure and soon fell into contemplation. The demon tentacle race, which is ghost mustache of remnant visage, Xiang Beifei had long known they had a presence in the Edge Corner airspace. Not only the demon tentacle race, but under usual circumstances, the meat-winged monster should also be present. Though the Eternal Night Demon King in the Great Desolate Realm was dealt with by Xiang Beifei, he vividly recalled that the meat-winged monster had sacrificed itself to the Yellow Springs, which was neither the force of the Desolate Realm but originated from the Edge Corner airspace. Beneath the Moon God Palace at the Yellow Springs, the Eternal Night Demon King guarded the entrance. At that time, Xiang Beifei used his abilities to block off the Yellow Springs, but the source must surely be this side. Now that he had reached the Edge Corner airspace, he needed to slowly unravel the matter. Today, Chimu City was crowded, lively and bustling, because today was the Guardian ranking day of Suju, a prodigy of the demon tentacle race. Su Ju, who entered the early immortal realm at the age of 227, reached middle immortal realm at 360 and ranked 197th on the Earth ranking, his ranking continuously rising nearly by one place every 10 years. Now at merely 631 years old, he had already ascended to 103rd on the Earth ranking. The 103rd ranked prodigy's guardian ranking day was even more notable than He Qing's ranking day 2 months ago. Because the Earth ranking is also a watershed, the gap between the top 100 and the top 200 is significant. The top 100 are mostly later stages of the immortal realm, and being 103rd means the strength is nearly comparable to someone in the top 100, almost as strong as a later stage immortal realm prodigy. Both in terms of reputation and strength, Su Ju was far more powerful than He Qing. The geniuses who came to Qimu City this time, almost all ranked after him on the Earth ranking, had come. At least over 80 Earth ranking geniuses showed up. Back when He Qing held his ranking, only about 12 Earth ranking geniuses came. Today's scale garnered far more attention than He Qing's ranking day. Su Ju, that mysterious genius of the demon tentacle race, unseen for 10 years, who knows how strong he is now. Legend says he ascends a rank every decade. 10 years ago, he just marked his 103rd place, and unless there's any accident, he's certainly stronger this year. I wonder who will challenge him today? Do you think Fei Tianyan of the fire race might challenge him? Fei Tianyan is currently ranked 105th. I heard his strength has skyrocketed recently. He might have a chance to defeat him. Impossible. Fei Tianyan is definitely not a match for Su Ju, because Su Ju's Tao embryo Dharma aspect isn't afraid of fire. Truthfully, their tentacles are just too strong. The Tao embryo's mutual restraint ensures Fei Tianyan will be suppressed. What about Zhui Lichang of the Jiaojing tribe? Their Tao embryo doesn't have mutual restraint, does it? He's ranked 104th and has the ability to contend with Su Ju. That's not possible either. My second aunt's third grandfather's great-great-great-grandmother's 16th generation distant cousin's brother, and Zhui Lichang's 19th generation grandfather's nephew's neighbor's cousin's 13th generation grandfather's brother's 7th great uncle are friends. The inside information I got from them says that Zhui Lichang is currently in closed training, so it's unlikely he'll be challenging the ranking today. That's really a shame. It seems he should be able to hold his ranking today. Many people were discussing which genius was most likely to challenge the ranking today. Naturally, there was great anticipation for someone like Su Ju, a genius, waiting for him to show up and display his charm. There were many Earth-ranking geniuses lurking in the crowd, waiting quietly without revealing their identities. Some were preparing to challenge the ranking today, readying themselves in secret to make a stunning debut. The entire Qimu City was focused on this event. In the void, a figure was sitting cross-legged. Countless rays of light trembled on his body. Golden tentacles appeared intermittently, exuding a powerful aura. Each tentacle here was filled with explosive power, rippling through the air, and with a slight sway, the void seemed to distort. It was a man with star-like eyebrows, extremely handsome, with long purple hair fluttering without wind, a trace of aloofness between his brows, and a cold and stern gaze that carried a hint of disdain for everything. Su Ju, the genius of the demon tentacle race, ranked 103rd on the Earth ranking. Today was the day he was to defend his ranking. The time had not yet come. He paused here, adjusting his state. Knowing that many people would be in Qimu City waiting for him, wanting to witness his style, and many Earth-ranking geniuses behind him were eager to make a move. He didn't care about any of this. He continued to keep his eyes closed and rest. At this moment, a figure shot across the distant void and landed in front of Su Ju, kneeling on one knee and respectfully saying, "Greetings, young master." This middle-aged man was Su Ju's personal servant, with cultivation only at the late heavenly connection stage. In the edge-corner airspace of the demon tentacle race, those without immortal realm cultivation could only serve as servants to the immortal realm elders in their race. "How are things going?" Su Ju asked indifferently. Reporting to the young master, "Qimu City is already crowded, all waiting for your grand arrival, young master." The middle-aged servant replied. "Have those I've been looking for arrived?" Suju asked. I hired a broker. Bian Hao of the Jiexiong tribe and Nie Hua of the Feather Race have both come. They are here to see you defend your ranking today, and without any surprises, they will be your new bodies. The servant responded respectfully. Good that they've come. Suju laughed coldly. The demon tentacle race is a race that lives by parasitism. They would parasitize any race, especially humans, because humans are the final form of cultivation. And even at the immortal realm, they still need to parasitize. Every 200 years, they must switch bodies, and at this stage, they naturally need stronger individuals as bodies. Next year was the time for Suju to switch bodies, so he had to choose suitable candidates. In the Edge Corner airspace, no need to search for individuals, because there are many people. All races, upon reaching the immortal realm, will naturally transform into human form, becoming suitable bodies. But as a master, Suju was very strict with bodies. After careful consideration, Bian Hao of the Jiexiong tribe and Nie Hua of the Feather Race were considered the most suitable bodies for the next switch. Master, who do you plan to choose? The servant asked. Kill them all and then slowly select. Suju said coldly. Understood. The servant replied without surprise. It's time to shake Chi Mu City. Suju stood up from the void, all his tentacles swiftly retracting, looking confident and spirited. He could already envision the grand scene as he entered Chi Mu City, drawing everyone's attention and the nation's admiration. For a heavyweight genius like him, making an appearance in a place like Chi Mu City had to be impressive. However, at this moment, a polite voice spoke up beside him. Excuse me, are you Suju? Ranked 103rd? The voice was very courteous, evidently from a well-behaved child. Suju turned around coldly, squinting his eyes at the young man who suddenly appeared before him. Who are you? Dare to block my young master's path? Are you tired of living? The middle-aged servant saw Xiang Beifei suddenly appear to block their way and immediately shouted coldly. Me? I'm just a passerby. Xiang Beifei looked at Suju calmly and lazily stretched his arms. Suju, he knew all too well what this person's Dao embryo was. Ghost mustache of remnant visage, ever since he started in Juzhou, he had been dealing with it. Countless people in Juzhou died at the hands of the ghostly visage, becoming their parasitic hosts. In the past, it was always ghost mustache of remnant visage finding trouble with Xiang Beifei. But today, he decided to take the initiative to stir things up. Passerby. Suju frowned. Many elders of the demon tentacle race have killed in the Edge Corner airspace but haven't exposed anything because they are cautious in their actions, won't be easily caught. After killing the opponent, the bodies are specially processed. Suju, being a genius on the Earth ranking, is even more meticulous in his actions. And that's why when he saw Xiang Beifei, he didn't underestimate this guy whose strength appeared weaker than his own. Because if the opponent's strength was truly weak, he should have been able to perceive it as soon as he appeared. This guy is not simple. Suju carefully scrutinized Xiang Beifei and discovered that this person was very special. Although the energy on him wasn't strong, for some reason, it stirred Suju up. Even his Dao embryo became restless and insatiable. This energy, remarkably perfectly matches his own. His eyes brightened. Even when the demon tentacle race reaches the immortal realm, they still need to switch parasitic bodies to ensure their cultivation. Typically, the body that matches one's own energy the most can last the longest, making cultivation more effortless. Normally, the bodies transformed by the E-Trib would only last 200 years. But seeing Xiang Beifei for the first time, Suju realized Xiang Beifei's body surprisingly matched his own so well, far surpassing his previous estimates of Nie Hua and Bian Hao. If he occupied this body, he might not need to change for 1,000 years. I didn't expect to be so lucky today. A trace of greed flickered in Suju's eyes. He was already intent on killing, preparing to eliminate Xiang Beifei, erase the soul and keep the body. You seem like you want to kill me? Xiang Beifei asked in surprise. Since you're here, don't think about leaving. Suju responded indifferently. At this time, the servant beside him respectfully reminded, Young master, we can't delay too long. We need to fight quickly. I know, you stay aside. Su Ju clearly understood this principle. Everyone in Chi Mu City was waiting for him. How could he be late? Boom! A fierce aura erupted suddenly from Su Ju's body. Countless golden tentacles sparkled with icy cold glint, weaving continuously in the air, like forming a dense network. These golden tentacles completely sealed off Xiang Beifei's retreat. I only want to borrow something from you. You don't need to extend so many tentacles, Xiang Beifei said. Borrow something from me? Su Ju chuckled coldly. I also want to borrow something from you. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The golden tentacles, like surging waves and mountains, stirred up giant spiritual power waves in the air, rolling towards Xiang Beifei. These tentacles, each was over 10 yards thick, impervious to blade, weapon, water, and fire. The power of the demon tentacle Dao was extremely terrifying, crashing down as if the world could turn upside down. Bang, bang, bang. The robust, explosive tentacles fiercely struck the location where Xiang Beifei was, instantly illuminating the void with golden light. The next 1,000 miles were enveloped in this aura. Nobody could survive this chaotic web of tentacles. Su Ju wanted to kill Xiang Beifei, so he spared no mercy, essentially going all out from the start. This guy with no sense dares to come seeking bad luck with our young master. He's asking for trouble. The middle-aged servant scoffed contemptuously. This level of battle was beyond his ability to intervene, but he had followed his young master for many years, seen many great scenes, and clearly knew his young master's true strength. Honestly speaking, his young master had always aimed to defeat the invincible Kai Kuan in the mid-immortal realm, continuously closing himself off for training. Already confident in defeating Kai Kuan, just waiting for the next encounter to defeat him. Unfortunately, Kai Kuan was gone. This guy who doesn't know the heights of heaven and earth still thinks he's so great, daring to come seeking death? Does he think he's the one who killed Kai Kuan, that broken hat? The middle-aged servant sneered contemptuously. He stared at the golden glittering center, waiting for his young master to kill this guy, then hurry to Chi Mu City. The golden light began to contract. The aftermath of the battle gradually dissipated into the void, swallowed by its power. The battle erupted swiftly and ended quickly too. A figure slowly appeared within the golden light, while another was dragged like a dead dog. Young master is mighty. The middle-aged servant's eyes brightened, promptly bending over and respectfully said. However, when he clearly saw the situation before him, his humble, flattering smile suddenly froze, and he opened his eyes wide in shock, because the one who walked out wasn't his young master, but that passerby. And his young master, eyes widened, soul extinguished, was already dead. Young master! The middle-aged servant shouted in utmost terror. I just want to borrow something. Xiang Beifei tossed the Dao Palace mark in his hand into the air, watching the middle-aged servant calmly. Thud! The middle-aged servant was so frightened that he fell directly onto the breath soil beneath his feet, trembling with fear. By the way, do you have a Dao Palace mark? I'm collecting them. Xiang Beifei fiddled with the Dao Palace mark and asked. You actually. Looks like you don't have one. Xiang Beifei waved his hand. Whoosh! The middle-aged heavenly connection servant's body started burning instantly, transforming into a spiritual power crystal. Xiang Beifei showed no mercy towards the ghost mustache of Remnant Visage. His conflict with the ghost mustache of Remnant Visage and the Moon God race was a matter of life and death, with no room for negotiation. Today, Chi Mu City was particularly lively. On the day of the Genius ranking, the strongest of the last 100 on the Earth ranking, Su Ju, drew the attention of countless people. In the Dao Palace's battle arena, there was a clamor of gongs and drums, the uproar of voices, fluttering red flags, and a sea of people. Everyone was waiting for the grand appearance of Su Ju. In the crowd, He Qing also disguised herself, sitting in an inconspicuous corner of the outer audience seats, waiting for Su Ju's arrival. If only I had a ranking like his, how wonderful it would be. He Qing couldn't help but sigh. The 101st position meant that every 10 years, one could receive a reward of 100 yards of land from the Dao Palace. 100 yards of land. I don't know how much difference there still is between me and him. He Qing was also quite eager about Suju. After comprehending the Dao Stone, He Qing's cultivation had risen to another level, and her strength had also increased a tier. However, after her strength increased, she had not yet faced any geniuses ranked ahead of her, so she couldn't confirm her combat power. The reason she traveled a long way to be here today was precisely to determine the gap between her and those geniuses ahead. Clearly, Suju, known as invincible within the last 100 of the Earth ranking, was the best benchmark to measure herself against. She perked up and focused her attention on searching through the crowd. At this moment, a figure slowly ascended the battle stage. But it wasn't Suju. It was someone challenging the ranking. The challenger had arrived even before the ranking defender. As soon as he appeared, many recognized him. It's Guan Wanli. He surely came to challenge. 10 years ago, he was defeated by Suju, and his ranking fell. It seems he's prepared for revenge 10 years later. This person is also quite formidable, but I still favor Suju. There was a hubbub of discussion among the crowd. Guan Wanli, ranked 102nd, was a talented young man from the Shongtou race, a 789-year-old prodigious youth. 10 years ago, Guan Wanli was originally ranked 101st, but while defending his rank, he was defeated by Suju. In fact, the two were evenly matched in strength, and their Dao embryos did not counter each other. 10 years ago, they faced off on the Void Battle stage for 3 days and nights, a battle for the ages that caused a sensation at the time. In the end, Guan Wanli was only slightly inferior by 1 move. It was a narrow defeat, to say the least. For the past 10 years, he had carefully studied the move Suju used to defeat him, researching it from all angles, and practiced diligently in seclusion, finally finding a way to counter that move. He was confident that he could engage in another fierce contest with Suju, reclaiming the rank that belonged to him. The invincible title of the last 100. It is mine. Guan Wanli clenched his fists, full of confidence, waiting for Suju to defend his ranking. It's 9 a.m. Someone shouted. 9 a.m. was the time Suju had personally set for defending his ranking. To prevent the talents on the ranking from hiding away just to collect breath soil after attaining their rank, Dao Palace required every talent to register their ranking defending time. If not registered, it would count from the time of their ranking to the next 10 years. Suju ranked 10 years ago at 9 a.m., so 10 years later, during this time, he must show up. If he doesn't appear, his rank won't be retained. Now that it was 9 a.m., Suju should be making his appearance. Everyone turned their gaze to the battle platform. However, only Guan Wanli stood there on the battle platform, waiting to fight for a ranking. What's going on? The time is up. Where is Suju? Could he be chickening out? Possibly, after all, Guan Wanli isn't lacking in strength, and he should have made ample preparations targeting Suju over the past decade. If he doesn't show up soon, then according to the Dao Palace's rules, the 101st position will belong to the challenger. The audience was already a bit impatient, looking around the sky and waiting for Suju. But half a coup passed. Suju didn't come. A full coup passed. Suju still didn't appear. Now everyone was getting impatient. Is this Suju a turtle hiding in its shell? He's not even defending his rank. I never expected Guan Wanli would reclaim his spot in such a way, just picking up the rank. Many couldn't help but sigh, then turned their gaze to the steel of the Earth ranking, waiting for a change in the rankings on the steel. They were all staring at the position of the 101st rank on the Earth ranking, but at this moment, everyone was utterly shocked. Wait, did I see it wrong? The 101st rank on the Earth ranking? How could it be? How is this possible? All the spectators were stunned. The list on the Earth ranking had been updated at some unknown time, and currently the information displayed for 101st rank was Broken Dao Race, Broken Pot, Early Immortality, 111 years old. Who is this Broken Pot? Everyone looked at each other in confusion. This sudden change left them bewildered. Originally, when the agreed time arrived, Logically, the Earth ranking should update, and Guan Wanli should become the 101st rank. But why had it turned to someone named Broken Pot? It's the Broken Tao race. Again, it's the Broken Tao race. This Broken Pot is from the Broken Tao race. Someone suddenly realized, exclaiming in surprise. Instantly, the whole place was in uproar. The Broken Tao race, a mysterious race that's been spreading like wildfire these past 2 months. Because just over 2 months ago, 2 unknown geniuses suddenly appeared on the Earth ranking, Ragged and Broken Hat. Especially this genius named Broken Hat, who surprisingly defeated Kai Kuan, said to be undefeated at the immortal phase, and squeezed into the top 100 of the Earth ranking with early immortality power. This event caused a huge stir in all the cities of Edge Corner airspace. Everyone wanted to know the true identity of this Broken Hat. However, before anyone had the chance to see Broken Hat's authentic face, unexpectedly, another genius named Broken Pot appeared on the Earth ranking, and the appearance of his name here meant Su Ju of the Demon Tentacle race was somehow defeated by Broken Pot. Everyone looked at each other, eyes filled with disbelief. To have a ranking on the Earth ranking, it doesn't just happen during the defending period when a challenger steps up. Defending only provides a deadline for appearing so everyone can challenge. But in reality, anytime, anywhere, no matter the circumstance, as long as it's a one-on-one victory. That means Su Ju should have been defeated halfway by the genius from the Broken Tao race during his journey to Chi Mu City to defend his rank. In just 2 months, the Broken Tao race unexpectedly has 3 geniuses on the Earth ranking. What kind of race is the Broken Tao race exactly? Aside from shock, everyone was filled with curiosity. The Broken Tao race, a race never heard of. How did it suddenly become a dark horse? This turn of events was unexpected for everyone, including Guan Wanli, who originally came with great ambition to fight for a rank. Su Ju was actually defeated? Guan Wanli was also taken aback. His opponent was gone. Wouldn't he appear foolish standing here? What should he do now? Should he step down? Reflecting on this, Guan Wanli's expression became even more serious. He knew today's ranking battle wouldn't bear fruit, yet inexplicably, he had gained another opponent, Broken Pot. Indeed, Edge Corner airspace hides talented individuals. One shouldn't underestimate. Just then, a polite voice echoed on the battle platform. "Excuse me, are you Guan Wanli? Ranked 102nd? This voice was very polite, clearly belonging to a well-behaved child. A very clear voice, not loud, but it clearly reached Guan Wanli's ears. Guan Wanli had just come back to his senses when he was interrupted by this voice, feeling somewhat impatient. As the genius ranked 102nd on the Earth ranking, he had quite a reputation, always being the focus wherever he went, and many people usually wanted to curry favor with him. He thought the owner of this polite voice must also be some fan secretly admiring him, preparing to flatter him. Humph! Guan Wanli had no intention of paying attention to this person at all and turned to walk off the stage. He was even too lazy to see what the person looked like. He had come here today to challenge Su Ju, but Su Ju was gone, and now there was another inexplicable future opponent, Broken Pot. So how could he be in the mood to care about unrelated people? However, as soon as he turned around, taking a step out, a ripple suddenly surged under his feet, as if he was stepping into an invisible swamp, unable to pull his foot out. Guan Wanli looked down and found that his foot was somehow entwined by a black and white cyclone, unable to move. He was startled, realizing something was amiss. "Who?" Guan Wanli shouted in a low voice, and the spiritual power within him erupted instantly, gathering under his foot, the powerful force of the midspan of eternity booming out, wanting to shatter this cyclone. However, just as his spiritual power swept out, it was assimilated by that black and white cyclone, and rather than being shattered, the cyclone grew even stronger. Guan Wanli raised his head and immediately saw a young and sunny-looking man standing on the battle stage, looking scholarly. Who is this person? Many people were equally astonished to see an unexpected person appearing on the Tao Palace's battle stage. They originally thought the one appearing on the stage would be Su Ju, but now it turned out to be a stranger. "Who are you?" Guan Wanli shouted in a low voice. "Me?" The young man revealed a sunny smile and then slowly said, "I am the brother of Broken Pot, Broken Smash." Brother of Broken Pot? Everyone was taken aback. Broken Pot? Wait, that name sounds familiar. In almost an instant, everyone reacted. Broken Pot. Wasn't there just a name update on the Earth ranking? The latest genius who replaced the 101st ranked Suju was Broken Pot. And now, standing on the stage, this person claims to be the brother of Broken Pot, Broken Smash? Swish! All the eyes below the battle stage turned to this young man. Faces full of shock, astonishment, curiosity, excitement. Different people displayed different expressions. The brothers Broken Pot and Broken Smash, needless to say, are known to be from the Broken Tao race. In the last 2 months, the notoriety of the Broken Tao race has been too prominent. First appeared Ragged, who replaced the famous Tang Ingsen, and then suddenly emerged a Dark Horse Broken Hat, who defeated the so-called unstoppable midspan of eternity, Kai Kuan. And now, the brothers Broken Pot and Broken Smash appear. Broken Pot, as the elder brother, has already defeated the highly anticipated Suju, and now Broken Smash suddenly appears on the battle stage, intending to challenge Guan Wanli? Everyone understood the intention of Broken Smash, including Guan Wanli, who couldn't help but exclaim in astonishment, with their eyes filled with immense anticipation. This was their first time seeing the true form of the Broken Tao race people. "I want to borrow something from you." The young man's voice remained very polite. "Borrow what?" Guan Wanli's face darkened. "Our Broken Tao race is preparing to emerge, borrowing your Tao Palace's mark for some time." The young man beamed with smiles. Broken Smash wants to borrow Guan Wanli's Tao Palace mark? Broken Pot challenged Suju. Now is Broken Smash preparing to challenge Guan Wanli? Oh my! I thought I was here to see Suju show off his prowess today, but I didn't expect to witness such a situation. It was worth the trip. Absolutely worth the trip. Guan Wanli, quickly accept the challenge. Many people began to cheer enthusiastically. The Broken Tao race, such a mysterious race, had never been seen by anyone in their true form, and witnessing them take action is definitely an eye-opening experience. Accept the challenge? Guan Wanli's heart was extremely heavy at this moment. He was already caught in a dilemma because his foot was sealed by that bizarre black and white cyclone, unable to move and seemingly unable to leave. But if he doesn't accept the challenge, the other side doesn't seem to intend to let him go. The ranking of geniuses on the Earth ranking during mutual challenges is not about mutual consent. Regardless of whether you agree or not, as long as the other party makes a move, whether it's a sneak attack or a fair challenge, as long as they win, your ranking will be taken. On the Tao Palace's battle stage, or anywhere in the Edge Corner airspace, there is no difference. The process is unimportant. The result is paramount. Since being listed, one must always be prepared to be challenged by others, whether you're sleeping or cultivating. Guan Wanli could not refuse, and now the other party is clearly coming for him, so refusing the challenge is of no use. Just borrow it for a moment, the young man politely said again. Buzz. His figure already vanished from the battle stage. Don't underestimate me. Guan Wanli roared lowly. His battle intent was aroused. The powerful true form of the heavenly Tao instantly transformed and spread fiercely on the battle stage. The Tao Palace's battle stage is not within the city. Rather, it is transmitted to the sky 1,000 miles away in a formation, allowing for full exertion. Guan Wanli, as a genius young man of the Shungto race, his true form is a domineering, mountain-like bizarre creature, shaped like a human, but without a head, as their head is on their chest. Because of the way their heads grow, they cannot take care of their backs, so their back defenses are incredibly terrifying. In the same realm, not many dare claim they can destroy the back defenses of the Shungto race. Even Kai Kuan doesn't dare guarantee it. If you want to deal with the Shungto race, you can only attack from the front. As Guan Wanli's Dharma image emerged, it spread out tens of thousands of zhong. A thunderous roar echoed between heaven and earth, and a gray radiance illuminated the entire void, countless rays intertwined to form layers of gray armor, emitting a solid and heavy aura. Such powerful heavenly Tao defenses. Guan Wanli has become even more formidable than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, he was defeated by Su Ju with just one move difference. Surely he must have reflected deeply over these years, and his proficiency has increased markedly. This strength, perhaps even stronger than Su Ju was 10 years ago? If Su Ju came today to challenge, he might not be able to defeat him. Yes, the people below the stage were all shocked, watching Guan Wanli's heavenly Tao Dharma image. Many knew Guan Wanli was powerful, but they did not expect him to be this strong. For a moment, they were all overwhelmed by the heavenly Tao power Guan Wanli controlled, even forgetting about the missing broken throw. Boom! 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 The powerful energy exploded in the void. Dazzling light distorted visibility, and the void seemed to tremble, the violent spiritual power waves impacting the battle stage. Even though these waves couldn't harm the crowd, they were still terrified. But at this moment, all the gray light suddenly became agitated, and a black and white vortex flashed through the middle, spinning rapidly. The originally destructive heavenly Tao power became incredibly chaotic. Swoosh! A figure descended from the void like a projectile, crashing down the battle stage and hitting the ground. Everyone focused and saw that it was Guan Wanli. Could it be that Guan Wanli was defeated? And defeated so easily? Many couldn't process this. They didn't even understand how Guan Wanli lost, only knowing he had just displayed his unparalleled, earth-shaking heavenly Tao power. While everyone thought this would be a hard battle, Guan Wanli was tossed out. They didn't even see clearly what heavenly Tao power Broken Throw used. The entire venue fell silent. Everyone was stunned, including the defeated Guan Wanli himself, who looked completely bewildered. How did I lose? Guan Wanli's mind was blank. He hadn't sustained any actual injuries. It seemed that person had no intent to kill him. Yet all his power was depleted in an instant. Now he couldn't even lift his arms. And on his arm, the Tao Palace insignia had already vanished. Thank you, Taoist Guan. Until we meet again. A voice came from the void. This voice was still quite polite, sounded like a well-behaved child. Is this the broken Tao race? He Qing sat in the corner of the audience seats, also stunned by this battle. Just now, Broken Throw, as known as the Broken Pot Brother, briefly revealed his visage, but she didn't recognize him. He Qing's brows furrowed even more tightly. She had initially improved significantly after comprehending the Tao Stone, thinking she could challenge the top experts, thus came today to assess the gap. However, Broken Throw's action completely overturned her imagination, making her realize there are always bigger fish, and she has a long way to go before entering the top 100 of the Earth ranking to earn breath soil. I thought the human race was already powerful enough, yet unexpectedly there appeared a broken Tao race. She couldn't help but think of Xiang Beifei. He is also a very monstrous genius. One move finished Kai Kuan and Tang Yingxin. Originally she was a bit skeptical of Xiang Beifei's statement that Broken Hat and Ragged aren't himself. But now she could be completely sure. Xiang Beifei indeed has no connection with the Broken Tao race. Because when Xiang Beifei made his move, the aura emitted was completely different from that of Broken Throw earlier. Xiang Beifei's actions carried an air of laziness and impatience within the strong power. Whereas Broken Throw's move was accompanied by politeness with sharpness, decisiveness shining through his sharpness. Between the two, there is a difference. Thus it seems, the Broken Tao race should be a rising new race, acknowledged by Tao Palace, which is why Broken Hat and Ragged were placed on what originally belonged to Xiang Beifei's rank. Yet He Qing now silently anticipates one thing. Broken Hat, Ragged, and Broken Pot Broken Throw of the Broken Tao race are rising dark horses. Xiang Beifei is also a hidden super genius. If Xiang Beifei were to fight against these four individually, who would be stronger? This would be an exceedingly exciting battle. Although that guy speaks quite annoyingly, he should be able to win. It's a pity. He Qing still holds some confidence in Xiang Beifei, but unfortunately, as a member of the human race, Xiang Beifei has no way to climb the heaven and earth ranking, hence cannot shine on the Earth ranking. He Qing finds this quite regrettable. Divine Feather City. It's only about 7 or 8,000 li away from Chimu City. Today in Divine Feather City, the crowd isn't particularly large. To highly ranked cultivators across Edge Corner airspace, the distance between the two cities isn't considered far, and many powerful individuals have gone to Chimu City to witness the world-renowned Suju's ranking battle. The streets appear rather desolate. In the Divine Feather Commercial Tower, Dongfang Xian is resting on the top pavilion of the tower. Last time, the Divine Feather Commercial Tower auctioned 2 rare Dao stones, gaining significant reputation, and in the 2 months since, many more trading guests have arrived, many willing to have items appraised. Suju's ranking defense interesting. Dongfang Xian gently poured a cup of tea, looking relaxed. He didn't go to Chimu City because he believes that today's ranking defense won't have many surprises. Generally, the demon tentacle race's Suju still has strength. But just then, he suddenly sensed something, slightly frowns and looked to the left. To the left, a shadow had already stood at some unknown time. The figure was cloaked in a black robe, not a hint of aura exuding, appearing lifeless, making it hard to discern their depth. So strong. Dongfang Xian's brows revealed a hint of solemnity. Though he is merely at mid-stage immortality, in essence, his strength is formidable, not actually weaker than Kai Kuan, only overaged for the Earth ranking, thus unlisted. Now someone infiltrated his pavilion without him noticing, making him extremely wary. The person able to do this is not simple. But Dongfang Xian, as the elder of Divine Feather Commercial Tower, has seen countless people, experienced many grand occurrences. He calmly stood up and cupped his hands in salute. Taoist friend gracing Divine Feather Commercial Tower, what might be the matter? Dongfang Xian, don't you recognize me? The hood atop the person's head transformed into black mist and dispersed, revealing his true face. This was a middle-aged man with graying hair, bushy white eyebrows particularly striking. His eyes profoundly deep, carrying a sharp aura. Gu Hengzi. Dongfang Xian was quite stunned, sizing up the other's figure closely, then smiled wryly. It's been years since we last met. Never thought your proficiency has progressed so much. Dongfang Xian sighed. In their youth, they were friends, but after parting ways, they hadn't seen each other for thousands of years. I've cultivated at the Dao Palace for some years. The opportunities gained are beyond your imagination, Gu Hengzi said. You cultivated at the Dao Palace? Indeed. Gu Hengzi suddenly produced a token, showing it to Dongfang Xian. Dongfang Xian looked at the token. His expression changed slightly, and he exclaimed, Dao Envoy order you? I represent Dao Palace today. Gu Hengzi spoke indifferently. Dongfang Xian regained his composure, suppressed the tumult within, and cupped his hands in respect. Greetings, Honorable Dao Envoy. Dao Envoy order. The token from the Dao Palace headquarters. Those who possess the Dao Envoy order represent the will of the Dao Palace and bear supreme authority. And Gu Hengzi, dispatched by the Dao Palace as a Dao Envoy, holds an extraordinarily esteemed status. Dongfang Xian is just an elder of the Divine Feather Commercial Tower. Although its backing is not small, it dares not defy the Dao Palace and must treat the Dao Envoy order with respect. Please have a seat, Dao Envoy, Dongfang Xian said. Gu Hengzi walked to the tea seat, sat down, poured himself a cup of tea, and took a gentle sip. Great tea, Gu Hengzi praised. Dongfang Xian also sat down and asked, Honorable Dao Envoy, could your visit to the Divine Feather Commercial Tower today be about more than just enjoying tea? Dongfang Xian, you've always been a wise man. Why not guess my purpose for seeking you? Gu Hengzi laughed. I have no idea. Could the Honorable Dao Envoy please enlighten me? Dongfang Xian replied steadily. He wouldn't guess. An old friend had become an emissary for the Dao Palace. His identity and status were different now, and after years of absence, who knows how much he had changed. Even if he vaguely understood Gu Hengzi's intention, he would not display more knowledge than his counterpart, because revealing the envoy's purpose would not yield any advantage and might offend the lofty emissary. Let's dispense with the riddles. Just tell me, how much do you know about the Broken Dao race? Gu Hengzi asked. The Dao Palace set rules in the Edge Corner airspace, allowing the Broken Dao race to ascend the Heaven and Earth ranking. Are they unfamiliar with this race? Dongfang Xian retorted. Gu Hengzi squinted his eyes. Just answer my question, he said. I've never heard of this race before. Dongfang Xian frowned slightly. But I believe you've encountered them, Gu Hengzi stated. What makes you say that? Stop pretending to be ignorant. Tell me, who did you sell the first Dao stone and the second Dao stone to? Gu Hengzi asked. The Honorable Dao Envoy must understand that our Divine Feather commercial tower operates on principles. We must keep our customers' confidentiality and protect their secrets, which is key in commerce, Dongfang Xian replied. Gu Hengzi put down his teacup and smiled faintly. So you're unwilling to cooperate with the Dao Palace? Dongfang Xian's face turned solemn. The Dao Palace establishes rules in the Edge Corner airspace, and no race dares openly defy its orders. Even the Divine Feather commercial tower doesn't have that capability. Our Divine Feather commercial tower always sticks to the rules, never doing anything against the Dao Palace. I believe the Dao Palace tends to be open-minded and won't force things, Dongfang Xian said. To conduct business within the Dao Palace territories, you must abide by their regulations. Frankly, the Broken Dao race isn't in the Dao Palace's myriad race records, so I must get to the bottom of this. If your Divine Feather commercial tower wants to earn money in the Edge Corner airspace, you best cooperate with me to avoid unpleasantness. Remember, your operations extend beyond Divine Feather City, but not beyond the Dao Palace, Gu Hengzi explained. Dongfang Xian remained silent. The Dao Palace can control everything. Without compliance, one command would uproot the Divine Feather commercial tower across the entire Edge Corner airspace. What do you want to know? Dongfang Xian asked. That's more like it. Gu Hengzi laughed, looking quite satisfied, knowing Dongfang Xian had compromised. Kai Kuan Sek's spirit-controlling tiger entrusted your Divine Feather commercial tower with transactions. You sold the first Dao stone to Tang Yingxin and the second Dao stone to He Yunfang. I've investigated this thoroughly. Tang Yingxin and Kai Kuan have disappeared, and I currently can't find them. They're likely killed in the void, but they are linked to your Divine Feather commercial tower. After the auction, the Broken Dao race suddenly revealed talents Ragged and Broken Hat, replacing their rankings. Do you think this is merely a coincidence? Do you believe their disappearance is my doing? Of course not. Rest assured, I won't suspect you of such a thing. Gu Hengzi chuckled softly, understanding how Dongfang Xian operated. But his voice suddenly became somber. Yet my intuition tells me the clue is here with you. Dongfang Xian said, in investigating a case, intuition isn't enough. That's true, which is why I've conducted detailed investigations from start to finish on Kai Kuan and Tang Yingxin. Their last known location was your Divine Feather commercial tower, and then I began researching the backgrounds of everyone involved in their case. Gu Hengzi's gaze became sharp. I thoroughly checked the background of every person linked to Kai Kuan and Tang Yingxin's case, except for one person. Gu Hengzi fixed his eyes on Dongfang Xian and said slowly, I cannot trace the seller of the second Dao stone, but you have met this person. And, when a matter's relationships are plain, yet there's one person whose identity can't be determined, then this person is worth suspecting. Gu Hengzi calmly pinpointed the issue. Upon hearing Gu Hengzi, Dongfang Xian fell into contemplation. Gu Hengzi is a very perceptive man. The Dao Palace wouldn't send anyone incompetent for investigations. Those who become Dao envoys naturally have certain skill sets. If the seller of the second Dao stone's identity remains unclear, the investigation must start with that person. We know each other well enough, so there's no need to hide anything. You've seen that person, and I suspect you might have considered whether that person belongs to the Broken Dao race. Am I right? Gu Hengzi asked. I don't casually suspect others, Dongfang Xian replied simply. As an elder of the Divine Feather commercial tower, you have long dealt with powerful experts, seeing through countless individuals, with a unique perspective. Even top experts in the later stages of immortality might find it hard to disguise themselves in your presence. Even if the other party has shed racial traits and become a complete human, many behaviors cannot be changed. You can distinguish any race through your observational skills. So, in your view, what race does this person belong to? Gu Hengzi continued to inquire. I can't tell. You can't figure out their race? Gu Hengzi asked. You've already got your answer, haven't you? Dongfang Xian replied steadily. Gu Hengzi stared at Dongfang Xian, whose expression did not change in the slightest. After a moment of silence, Gu Hengzi chuckled. Good. I believe your words. If even you can't spot it, then I'm more certain that this individual has a definite connection to the broken Dao race. Gu Hengzi laughed. As long as one is an expert at the stage of immortality, Dongfang Xian can almost determine the race of the opponent unless it is a race he hasn't encountered before. So, the matter is quite clear. He needs to target the person selling the second Dao stone. At this moment, a voice came from the staircase. Elder Dongfang, earlier you mentioned that if the ranking in Chimu City is determined, I should report to you. Just now, it was the voice of a clerk from the Divine Feather Commercial Tower. Dongfang Xian glanced at Gu Hengzi and then said, Come in and speak. Yes. The clerk walked up, holding a document and said, To the elder, the results for the Earth ranking are out. Dongfang Xian said, The Heaven and Earth ranking is a fierce battle with unpredictable changes. We don't know if today's Su Ju can hold his rank, which is a significant matter. Tell me, did Su Ju manage to keep his ranking? The clerk was about to speak, but then Gu Hengzi calmly waved a hand and said, You don't need to say. Let me guess. The clerk was a bit taken aback, glancing again at Dongfang Xian, who nodded subtly, and the clerk wisely kept silent. Gu Hengzi held the teacup, gently brushed the tea with the lid, took a small sip, then said, Su Ju, being ranked 101st on the Earth ranking, has cultivation strength in the mid-immortality stage. As a demon tentacle, he possesses a very powerful innate heavenly Dao form, one of the strongest races in the entire Edge Corner airspace. His demon tentacles are impervious to water and fire, extremely strong, unmatched, making it nearly impossible in the same realm to break through the defense of his tentacles. So you think Su Ju has successfully defended his rank? Dongfang Xian inquired. Gu Hengzi once again smiled confidently, shook his head, and said, Not at all. Although Su Ju is powerful, he is not without flaws. Guan Wanli, who was defeated by Su Ju 10 years ago, only lost by a single move. From what I know of Guan Wanli, his back defense is invincible, and Su Ju couldn't breach it at all, merely capitalizing on a slight weakness at the front. Over the past 10 years, Guan Wanli has trained in new cultivation techniques to address this minor flaw. You have such confidence in Guan Wanli? Dongfang Xian asked. Because I've seen him once and also Su Ju once. Although both have suppressed their cultivation, maintaining a low profile, some things cannot be concealed. Guan Wanli possesses a naturally overwhelming aura that cannot be hidden. Gu Hengzi explained calmly. Contemplative, Dongfang Xian nodded slightly and said, So you believe Guan Wanli has succeeded in defeating the rank in this contest? Yes. Based on my understanding of Guan Wanli, today's contest will be his honorable battle to reclaim his ranking. Gu Hengzi, being a Dao envoy of the Dao Palace, has access to extraordinary channels of information, knowing the details of almost every contest intimately. If he wishes to investigate, there is nothing he can't uncover. You seem quite confident in your prediction, Dongfang Xian remarked. With a smile of foresight on his face, Gu Hengzi replied, This is not just my prediction, but also the Dao Palace's prediction. Our Dao Palace conducts divinations on any upcoming events to reach the most accurate conclusions. In the Edge Corner airspace, nothing can escape the Dao Palace's watchful eye, whether it's Guan Wanli, Su Ju, or the broken Dao race. None can. His guesses are made with certainty because he relies on the powerful backing of the Dao Palace, which is full of hidden talents and countless exceptional individuals, naturally equipped with elders who possess the heavenly Dao power for divining destiny. Whether it's Divination Dao or Fate Dao, Future Dao. Within the Dao Palace, the results have already been foretold before any event unfolds. The accuracy rate reaches as high as 100%. And in this battle for the 101st rank on the Earth ranking several days ago, elders within the Dao Palace had already used the ultimate Dao embryo for divination. With no surprises, the result is that Guan Wanli succeeds in defeating the rank. Gu Hengzi dares to be so assured because he, as the Dao envoy, is privy to a lot of information. Buddy, wasn't I right? Gu Hengzi looked at the shop assistant standing next to him, giving a confident smile. The assistant seemed a bit uneasy, casting a strange glance at Gu Hengzi. Although he didn't know the man's identity, he was clearly a distinguished guest to be personally received by Elder Dongfang. After hesitating for a moment, he cautiously said, "Actually, your prediction was wrong." Gu Hengzi's confident smile suddenly froze, his brow furrowed. Impossible! The Dao Palace cannot make a wrong prediction. The powerful calculation methods within the Dao Palace were infallible. He had come because he knew the result. But it really was wrong, the assistant whispered. It wasn't Guan Wanli who successfully challenged the ranking. Could it be that Su Ju defended it successfully? Gu Hengzi asked. The assistant whispered, "No, according to the news just coming in from Chimu City, the situation was very complicated at today's ranking challenge." Suddenly, the Broken Pot Broken Smash brothers appeared, not only defeating Su Ju but also completely crushing Guan Wanli. What? Gu Hengzi stood up abruptly, a powerful aura rising from him, looking very shocked. Broken Pot Broken Smash brothers? Could this be? The assistant was startled, and if not for Dongfang Xian intercepting, he might have been scared to the point of wetting himself. Trembling, he replied, "It is the Broken Pot Broken Smash brothers from the Broken Dao race." It said that Su Ju hadn't even arrived in Chimu City before Broken Pot defeated him first, and Guan Wanli was on stage waiting to challenge Su Ju's position, but was instead kicked off by Broken Smash. Dongfang Xian was also slightly taken aback, but he remained much more composed than Gu Hengzi, as the matter was not directly related to him, and his pride wasn't affected. Broken Dao race. Gu Hengzi's eyes darkened as he snatched the Earth ranking list from the assistant's hand, staring at the displayed information in disbelief. He originally understood the talents competing for today's ranking very clearly, intending to demonstrate the omniscience and omnipotence of the Dao Palace before Dongfang Xian, to intimidate him, to make him understand the Dao Palace's capabilities. But he didn't expect this confidence to be completely shattered by Broken Pot Broken Smash. Despite all his calculations, he never imagined the emergence of the Broken Pot Broken Smash brothers. This revelation was shocking. He originally thought that having two geniuses from the Broken Dao race appear on the Earth ranking was already their limit, as the competition for the Heaven and Earth ranking is extremely fierce. Normally, if two people from one race appear on the Heaven and Earth ranking, it proves that race is extraordinary. If three people simultaneously appear on the Heaven and Earth ranking, it indicates that the race is surely one of the major races. If four appear, then that race belongs to the top-tier races, and in the Edge Corner airspace such a race holds a very prestigious status, being one of the absolute supporters of the Dao Palace. If five people, up until now, among the thousands of races in the entire Edge Corner airspace, only one race has had 5 of its geniuses appear on the Heaven and Earth ranking. And this race forms the backbone of the Dao Palace. Gu Hengzi had been investigating the Broken Dao race, thinking that them having 2 Earth ranking geniuses was already their limit, but unexpectedly, 4 emerged. Ragged, Broken Hat, Broken Pot, Broken Smash. Did the Honorable Dao Envoy with divine foresight fail to predict this? Dongfang Xian asked in surprised retort. Humph! Gu Hengzi snorted coldly, quite annoyed. In his eyes, Dongfang Xian's words seemed extremely mocking. But he had no time to say much more to Dongfang Xian, as he needed to head to Chimu City to investigate this matter thoroughly. Buzz! Gu Hengzi turned and stepped out, disappearing from the Divine Feather commercial tower. In the deep void, Xiang Beifei sat cross-legged on the breath soil, awakening from his meditation. Woof woof! Xiaohe had already rushed back from the nearest city, where it had gone to gather information and get a sense of things. Sure enough, the entire Edge Corner airspace was in an uproar. The four brothers of the Broken Dow race once again swept through every city, becoming the focal point of Edge Corner airspace. A previously unknown mysterious clan suddenly rose, occupying 4 places on the Earth ranking in just 2 months, shocking everyone. This is something only extremely powerful races can achieve. Currently, the most discussed topic about the Broken Dow race is probably the personally revealed Broken Pot, since it's the only one whose real identity people have seen. I created so many alter egos to dominate the rankings, but only one showed up. That's just unreasonable. Xiang Beifei considered the issue. The Dow Palace must have notified every city's branch to watch out for people from the Broken Dow race. This means if Xiang Beifei wants to go to the Dow Palace to get breath soil, he'll definitely get caught. By then, they might even guess that the Broken Dow race is actually the same person. Woof! Xiaohe suggested using a clone to solve the problem. The greatest flaw of a clone is that it weakens my strength. If I encounter danger and one of my clones gets caught, it will be troublesome. Xiang Beifei shook his head. He can create countless clones, but doing so divides his strength evenly. If some clones are destroyed and can't be retrieved, it means losing part of his cultivation. Woof! Xiaohe's eyes twinkled as it suddenly jumped up excitedly. Its white fur stood on end, lighting up with bands of white light, which then emitted a dark glow amidst the white light. The black and white lights intertwined, darting about swiftly, then began to stretch and with a buzz, suddenly contracted. A doll-like little boy appeared before Xiang Beifei. He was sculpted like a porcelain statue, with watery big eyes that were pure and innocent, looking innocent and harmless, with delicate and cute features. His little mouth was grinning, revealing white teeth, dressed in black shorts and a white t-shirt, barefoot, looking about 4 or 5 years old. Never had he seen such an adorable little boy. Huh! Xiang Beifei was taken aback. You can transform into a person? Of course, Xiaohe replied adorably. The voice was still Xiaohe's, but now it was speaking human language. Xiang Beifei's eyes widened in surprise. He had no idea, since Xiaohe was shocked into his current form when it awakened the system. It remained following him as a small white dog, always sitting on his shoulder, coming up with mischievous plots. Xiang Beifei had grown accustomed to treating Xiaohe as a little puppy, so when Xiaohe suddenly transformed into a human, Xiang Beifei himself was stunned for quite a while. I could transform since you entered the immortal realm. You never told me that. Turning human makes it inconvenient to sit on your shoulder, so I didn't bother to mention it. Xiaohe pouted playfully, pinching its own little face, then stuck out his tongue, making a funny face. Xiang Beifei was speechless. How do you like this outfit? Xiaohe asked with a cheeky smile. Xiang Beifei couldn't help muttering, You're not a little girl, surprisingly. Xiaohe rolled its eyes. Yumong seemed quite fond of Xiaohe's appearance, jumping onto Xiaohe's shoulder and curiously pinching its cute cheeks. As a little boy, I can act as your alter ego. If things get tough, I can always run. Xiaohe clenched its chubby little fists, eagerly rubbing its hands, then picked up 2 bricks, knocking them together a few times. Xiang Beifei chuckled involuntarily. It's actually a pretty good idea. Xiaohe is naturally a little troublemaker with a powerful invisibility ability. Whoever it wants to see, can see it. Whoever it doesn't want to see, no matter how strong their perception, won't notice it, even if Xiaohe stands right on their head. If Xiang Beifei acts as Broken Pot to cause trouble in one city, Xiaohe can act as Broken Pot in another, easily confusing the people of the Dao Palace. Xiang Beifei took the wooden Kirin out of his pocket and asked, Hey, Era, can you transform into a human? Era extended its long tail, stroking its chin in a pensive manner for a while, then nodded. Ah, you can turn into a human too? Let me see. A woo! Wooden Kirin shook its head. Is it that my saber can't cut? Or are you becoming arrogant? Dare to dislike human appearance? Haven't you seen that all the cultivators in Edge Corner Airspace's races are trying to turn into humans? This is the era of everyone's transformation. Hurry and transform. If it's too ugly, I'll give you a makeover, Xiang Beifei urged. With a reluctant face, Era finally lit up with a beam of light on its body. A green glow quickly enveloped the wooden Kirin's whole body, and in the blink of an eye, Era's body transformed into a human shape. It looked like a kid about 10 years old, with a roguish look and a head full of green hair. Quite handsome, except it hadn't fully taken human form. His head still had 2 horns with those same unruly eyes. Era was like those E-tribe cultivators who hadn't reached the immortal realm, carrying racial characteristics, but his were those of Era. What the heck? You're a guy too. Xiang Beifei was greatly disappointed. What's wrong with being a guy? If you're unhappy with someone, just grab a stick and beat them up. Isn't that good? Era's voice hadn't changed much either, still carrying that lazy tone. Xiang Beifei, haven't you noticed that among the 4 kings of the Edge Corner airspace, masculinity overwhelms femininity? Xiang Beifei said. Xiaohe and Era both turned their eyes to Yumong. Yumong was curiously touching Xiaohe's chubby cheeks, and suddenly felt a bit embarrassed when everyone looked over. Xiang Beifei also stared at Yumong and said, Yumong, tell me you're a girl. He had never paid attention to this before since Yumong was just a mascot, sleeping in his pocket every day. He never expected Yumong to do anything. Yumong rolled his eyes and said, Yu. Huh? Is that how tree people are? Xiang Beifei said, half laughing, half crying. Mu Yumeng is a bit special. Before reaching adulthood, there's no differentiation between male and female. It is only upon reaching adulthood that a direction gets determined. It's said that their coming-of-age ceremony requires fighting. Those with combat talent become males, and those without become females. This is different from humans. After all, back in Juzhou, the martial arts college had a bunch of powerful girls with a knack for fighting. With your poor combat ability, you should just be a girl in the future. Era nonchalantly picked up Yumong. Yumong wasn't pleased, baring his teeth and punching with his little fists, hitting Era twice. He was determined to seek revenge, never slacking off from training and following Xiang Beifei. His current strength had already reached the orifice transforming phase. I'm not even an adult yet, what's the hurry? Xiang Beifei patted Yumong on the head. Then looking at the humanized Xiaohe and Era, he couldn't help but ponder. Xiaohe was a perfectly human little boy, while Era, with his green, shaggy hair, looked like a delinquent teenager. Your horn is way too obvious. People can tell at a glance that you're not from the immortal realm, Xiang Beifei said. Then I'll shrink my horn a bit. Era tried hard to shrink his horn, but he couldn't completely retract it. Never mind, I'll wear a hat. I look cooler with a hat like this. Era cheerfully waved his hand. A leaf floating out of the air, transforming into a green baseball cap, which he put on his head. Do you really have to wear a green hat? Xiang Beifei asked in shock. What's wrong with a green hat? I like green. Just look at my head. The vibrant green is so energetic. Era twirled his green hat, tilting the brim to the back, looking quite pleased with himself. Xiang Beifei. Era not only wore a green hat, but also green pants, green clothes, green wristbands, and green shoes. He was green from head to toe, which was quite striking. Xiang Beifei couldn't be bothered with Era's preferences, thinking that one more person added another force for causing trouble. They were preparing to form the 4 kings of the Broken Dao race of Edge Corner airspace and give Dao Palace a run for their money. When Gu Hengzi arrived in Chimu City, it was already too late. The battle stage had long been dismissed, and the audience had mostly left. The entire city was left with only the legend of the Broken Pot brothers, but none of their traces. He looked visibly upset, knowing he had missed the Broken Dao race yet again. Broken Pot. Gu Hengzi stared at the person on the battle stage. The Dao Palace battle stage used powerful formations to record the battles of Earth-ranking geniuses. As long as you fought on the stage, every move would be captured by the formation. Broken Pot's appearance was no exception. This young man, aside from being a bit handsome, had nothing special about him. Gu Hengzi memorized Broken Pot's appearance carefully, certain that this was the real appearance of Broken Pot, because the formations on the Dao Palace stage were very powerful, capable of stripping away any disguise and revealing the essence clearly. To be sure, he even drew the appearance to confirm it with others, finding that what the formation displayed matched what others saw. In other words, Broken Pot hadn't intentionally disguised himself. This was the first time in 2 months that they had recorded a member of the Broken Dao race, making it a very precious clue. Did he not come here to register after defeating Guan Wanli? Gu Hengzi inquired of the steward from the Dao Palace of Chimu City. Replying to the Honorable Dao Envoy, he did not. Neither Broken Pot nor Broken Handle came to register, nor have they come to claim their breath soil rewards. The steward replied respectfully. Without registering, how did their names appear on the Earth ranking? Gu Hengzi astutely grasped this key point. He was more than clear on the rules of the Earth ranking. If someone defeated a genius listed for the first time, the Dao Palace mark would register the opponent's cultivation and age first. Once it was confirmed that the opponent met the requirements, the Dao Palace mark would then attach to the person's wrist. The Earth ranking can only be altered after registration. If Broken Pot first defeated Su Ju, the Earth ranking list shouldn't change so quickly under normal circumstances. Su Ju was staying in Chimu City to defend his rank, which means Broken Pot would have to come to Chimu City to register before he could replace Su Ju's rank. How could you not know? Gu Hengzi asked sternly. The steward was startled and quickly said, replying to the Honorable Dao Envoy, really, they didn't. Broken Pot and Broken Handle did not register in Chimu City. If they didn't register here, how could the ranking list change so quickly? Gu Hengzi rebuked. The steward, sweating profusely, said, Dao, Honorable Dao Envoy, it's possible Broken Pot and Broken Handle registered in another city. You know there is a situation where if a newcomer, before being ranked, already has a name recorded in the Dao Palace, then he doesn't need to register. The Earth ranking will change directly. Gu Hengzi snorted coldly and said, no matter what, issue a notice to all city stewards. If any of Ragged, Broken Hat, Broken Pot, or Broken Handle come to exchange breath soil, they must report to headquarters first. Do not hand out the breath soil casually. Keep them steady first. Yes, the steward promptly agreed. Gu Hengzi snorted coldly and left Chimu City. He had already determined his next destination. Crane Dao Courtyard. Xiang Beifei returned before He Qing. He was ardently assisting He Yunfang in the renovations of the Crane Dao Courtyard. Young Master Xiang, you once gave us the Dao Stone, and now you bring me breath soil. I am quite ill at ease. He Yunfang said. Last time, to buy the Dao Stone, they dismantled parts of the Crane Dao Courtyard, and recently the courtyard's formation had issues, destroying several buildings. Fortunately, Xiang Beifei stepped in and restored the formation to its original condition. No need to be polite. It's a small matter. Xiang Beifei waved his hand and asked, how is the comprehension of the Dao Stone going? He Yunfang laughed. It's been immensely beneficial. Shao Qing's experience is incredibly important to us. That's good. Xiang Beifei followed He Yunfang into the hall of the Crane Dao Courtyard. He Yunfang poured Xiang Beifei a cup of tea, exemplifying courteousness. Daoist Xiang, you might also try perceiving this Dao intent. The Dao this senior cultivates is quite unique. He Yunfang eagerly shared his comprehension of the Dao Stone with Xiang Beifei, who listened patiently, occasionally offering advice. However, at that moment, he suddenly sensed something and slightly furrowed his brows. What's wrong? He Yunfang asked, noticing Xiang Beifei's expression. Strange, we have a guest. Xiang Beifei said. A guest? He Yunfang was slightly puzzled. He didn't understand what Xiang Beifei meant. Xiang Beifei gazed out the window. In the vast void, a very powerful aura was scanning the entire Crane Dao Courtyard. This perceptive power was extremely covert yet strong, undetectable even to ordinary immortal realm cultivators. This cultivation level was at least in the Inquiry Dao realm. Xiang Beifei's heart stirred with a subtle suspicion. Be careful. I reckon someone from the Dao Palace is here to investigate matters. Xiang Beifei said. The Dao Palace. He Yunfang was greatly shocked. Their small crane Dao race had only moderate strength, with just one clan member on the Earth ranking, placed near the bottom. They were hardly qualified to interact with the Dao Palace's upper echelon. How could someone from the Dao Palace arrive here? Are you sure it's someone from the Dao Palace? He Yunfang asked. I must leave first. Be careful, Xiang Beifei said, and his aura instantly quelled, disappearing from the hall. Almost right after Xiang Beifei left, a figure appeared in the hall, its presence elusive. Chief He, it's been a while. Gu Hengzi's voice resonated. He Yunfang was caught off guard. Xiang Beifei did not leave the guest hall of the Crane Dao courtyard. He remained standing in the corner, disguising himself as air using his powerful yin and yang primal energy. As long as he didn't make a move, no one could detect him. His gaze flickered with black and white light, immediately revealing the system interface of the person before him. Dao Keeper, Gu Hengzi, Dao Embryo, Divine Sense Dao, Dao Technique, Inquiry Dao Initial Stage, Dao Embryo Description. Cultivates intuition, perception, hearing, smell, vision, and other divine sense powers, being 100 times more powerful in perception than ordinary people. This guy is actually in the Inquiry Dao realm. Xiang Beifei thoughtfully regarded the other's system interface, gaining a detailed understanding of Gu Hengzi's Dao embryo information. He didn't show anything. He just quietly pondered. Meanwhile, He Yunfang, upon seeing Gu Hengzi, felt quite surprised and became distinctly wary. The Crane Dao courtyard had very strong defensive methods, but for this person to suddenly enter quietly, ignoring the outside formation without alerting anyone, meant this person's strength was extremely terrifying. He Yunfang remembered what Xiang Beifei said earlier. Although he didn't know how Xiang Beifei discovered it, he was clear in his mind, calmed himself and cupped his hands, saying, May I ask, who are you? I am from Dao Palace. Gu Hengzi presented the Dao Envoy order. Dao Palace. As the current clan leader of the crane race, He Yunfang was naturally familiar with this token, and his heart skipped a beat. For someone from Dao Palace to visit personally, this was definitely not a good thing. Especially, He Yunfang couldn't help but think of Xiang Beifei. Xiang Beifei belonged to the human race, which was a race wanted by Dao Palace. Dao Palace had issued a kill-on-sight order throughout the Edge Corner airspace. Any sighting of the human race must be met with annihilation. Could Xiang Beifei's identity have been discovered? He Yunfang felt anxious. If people from Dao Palace knew that they had harbored a member of the human race, then the trouble would be immense. The wrath of Dao Palace was definitely something they couldn't withstand. He Yunfang forcibly calmed himself and said, So it is the Honorable Dao Envoy. May I ask what service I can provide for the Honorable Dao Envoy visiting my humble abode? Gu Hengzi looked around. Before coming, he had already searched here using his immense perception, but everything seemed normal. I am here today to investigate some matters and hope that Chief He will cooperate, Gu Hengzi said. He Yunfang immediately said, Honorable Dao Envoy, please feel free to say anything. I will certainly cooperate if I can assist. Gu Hengzi said straightforwardly, Chief He, regarding the auctioning of Dao stones at the Divine Feather Commercial Tower, is this true? Gu Hengzi stared at He Yunfang. His cultivation was a powerful divine sense Dao. He could discern if someone was lying simply through intuition. No matter how calm or how well one disguised oneself, it was impossible to deceive him. The Divine Sense race was a powerful upper-class race in the Edge Corner airspace, deeply valued by the upper echelons of Dao Palace. With their strong perception abilities, they could locate the clues to events, which was why Gu Hengzi could fulfill the position of Dao Envoy. Neither He Yunfang's cultivation nor his Dao embryo was a match for him. In front of Gu Hengzi's Divine Sense Dao, if He Yunfang were to lie, he would see through it in an instant. He Yunfang's gaze wavered. By rights, a buyer's identity should be confidential, but since the other party was from Dao Palace, it was understandable that he knew of this matter. He just didn't know why they were seeking them. That's right. We spent 300 lengths of soil to auction a Dao stone, He Yunfang said. This Dao stone was acquired openly and was nothing that couldn't be mentioned. But regarding the other Dao stone, he would never admit its existence, because the Dao stone, obtained from Kai Kuan, was of major significance, and he couldn't explain its origin. But as I know, the Divine Feather Commercial Tower auctioned 2 Dao stones. The second Dao stone is said to share the same source as the first. About this second Dao stone, do you have any thoughts? Gu Hengzi asked. He Yunfang chuckled dryly twice and said, Think, of course I thought. But even if I thought, so what? Can we go snatch it? We don't even know who won the first Dao stone. He Yunfang was a clever person. Saying something uncertain instead of covering it up was less suspicious, so he spoke ambiguously. He continued, To be frank, the Dao intent contained in that Dao stone is probably something the Honorable Dao Envoy has heard of. For us, obtaining 1 Dao stone is enough for us to meditate on for a long time. The second Dao stone was purchased by Tang Yingxin, Gu Hengzi said impassively. Tang Yingxin? He bought it. He Yunfang feigned surprise and asked. He's dead, Gu Hengzi continued. He Yunfang was taken aback. His mind involuntarily recalled the battle over 2 months ago. The powerful avian clan genius Tang Yingxin was full of momentum, enough to kill him. But at the precarious moment, Xiang Beifei raised his hand and directly extinguished the genius. The image of that scene was deeply engraved in his mind to this day. He Yunfang composed himself and asked, Was he killed by that broken Dao race genius? You should be the one telling me. Me? He Yunfang's heart constricted, saying, Honorable Dao Envoy, don't joke. What does this have to do with me? Gu Hengzi said indifferently, Tang Yingxin obtained the first Dao stone. But this Dao stone also belonged to Kai Kuan. As I know Kai Kuan, after acquiring a Dao stone, he certainly wouldn't let the second Dao stone go. So Kai Kuan will definitely come to find you all. He Yunfang feigned tension. Could he possibly be coming to rob us? Kai Kuan is also dead. Kai Kuan is dead? He Yunfang gasped, trying to make his reaction appear genuine, and asked again, Are you saying that the broken hat from the Earth Rankings broken Dao race killed Kai Kuan? He tried hard to conceal his emotions, because he knew very well that both Kai Kuan and Tang Yingxin were instantly killed by Xiang Beifei. But he couldn't possibly reveal the truth. No matter what, he couldn't betray Xiang Beifei. Not to mention, the child's character was pure, and he even saved him and his daughter. There was no way he could sell him out. As for Broken Hat and Ragged, he was certain they were not Xiang Beifei. Since no one knew them anyway, he would let them take the fall for Xiang Beifei. Gu Hengzi kept watching He Yunfang's reaction. In the face of powerful divine perception, any disguise would be seen through at a glance. If He Yunfang uttered a single insincere word, it wouldn't escape his perception. But strangely, in his perception, what He Yunfang said was actually the truth. Every word was true without any falsehood. Could it be that this matter has nothing to do with the crane race? Gu Hengzi was doubtful. His intuition told him that the person who initially sold the second-letter Dao stone was likely from the broken Dao race. And the crane race not being targeted by the overbearing Kai Kuan might have a connection with the broken Dao race. But now it seemed that the relationship between the crane Dao race and the broken Dao race was merely limited to the transaction of the second Dao stone. After a while, he said again, Our Dao Palace needs to investigate the matter of the broken Dao race. Could I possibly borrow the second Dao stone to have a look? Although he phrased it as a question, in reality, this inquiry was equivalent to a command. He Yunfang had no way to refuse. Their crane race was unable to contend against the great power of the Dao Palace. So he had to say, All right. He extended his hand, and the no character Dao stone appeared in his grasp. Gu Hengzi took a casual glance, and suddenly his gaze paused sharply. Previously, these 2 Dao stones were widely talked about in Divine Feather City, said to be incredibly formidable, left by an Ascension Realm expert which he had dismissed. In Gu Hengzi's eyes, if the Dao stone was truly left by an Ascension Realm expert, how could it be auctioned off so easily? It must have been deliberately hyped up to fetch a high price, just to deceive some gullible fools. As a special envoy of the Dao Palace, what treasures had he not seen? but at the first sight of the no character on this Tao stone, he felt some kind of bloodline within him stir. This no character was carefree and graceful, carrying an unrestrained posture, seemingly transforming into a light and fast shadow spinning around. The divine sense Tao he understood felt as if it was being activated, seemingly drawn along. What is this? Gu Hengzi's eyes showed a trace of astonishment. He originally thought this Tao stone was just some hyped-up niche item, utterly useless. But he never would have imagined that this Tao stone could have such mysterious effects. This truly was a valuable treasure. Gu Hengzi was quite shocked. This Tao stone exceeded his expectations, and even as an inquiry Tao realm expert, he was drawn in. This Tao stone is useful to me as well. Gu Hengzi was profoundly serious. He took a deep breath, awakening from the Tao stone's realm. Yet his gaze remained fixed on it, never leaving. He Yunfang also noticed Gu Hengzi's expression, feeling a subtle unease in his heart. Sure enough, Gu Hengzi suddenly said, "Chief He, this Tao stone is related to the broken Tao race. I need to borrow it temporarily to investigate the broken Tao race." He Yunfang's heart sank and he quickly said, "Honorable Tao Envoy, we acquired this Tao stone from the Divine Feather Commercial Tower through transparent means, spending 300 zhang of breath soil to purchase it, without violating any rules of the Tao Palace. I did not say you broke the rules, but this matters to the broken Tao race. The broken Tao race has committed acts against the Tao Palace's wishes. To this day, we still have no information on the broken Tao race. I need to start my investigation with this Tao stone," Gu Hengzi said slowly. "How long will it take?" Yunfang asked. "Once we have thoroughly investigated the affairs of the broken Tao race, we will return this Tao stone to you," Gu Hengzi said coldly. This answer did not sit well with He Yunfang, because he was not from the Tao Palace and had no idea when Gu Hengzi would complete the investigation into the broken Tao race's origins. Whether it would take days, months, years, or even centuries, what would count as thoroughly investigated? If he kept stalling, how would he ever get it back? "Honorable Tao Envoy, this Tao stone is crucial to us. I trust you will cooperate with the Tao Palace," Gu Hengzi interrupted He Yunfang, giving him virtually no chance to argue. He Yunfang clenched his fists. He had no option but to hand over the Tao stone, as Gu Hengzi could at any time accuse him of not assisting the Tao Palace's investigation. After that, the crane race would find itself unable to move in the Edge Corner airspace. Moreover, his daughter was still a genius on the Earth ranking. He Yunfang said once again, "Honorable Tao Envoy, we are willing to assist the Tao Palace, but please leave us some proof, so that in the future we can find you to inquire about the progress and retrieve the Tao stone." Gu Hengzi glanced at He Yunfang and said, "As an envoy of the Tao Palace, my word is the greatest evidence. Don't you believe me? I didn't mean it that way." "Good. I will report this matter accurately to the Tao Palace above, adding a merit to your crane race. Farewell." Gu Hengzi pocketed the Tao stone and turned away, leaving the crane Tao courtyard. How could this happen? He Yunfang's face instantly became desolate. That was a Tao stone obtained in exchange for 300 zhang of breath soil. Originally, he thought it a blessing to save the Tao stone from Kai Kuan, but he hadn't expected this time it would be taken by the Tao Palace's envoy. Yet he had no choice. Small races, when facing such a behemoth as the Tao Palace, stood no chance. Whatever the Tao Palace wanted, He Yunfang had no room for objection. Xiang Beifei reappeared, looking at He Yunfang, who sat disheartened in a chair, sighing deeply. Despite his best efforts to conceal it earlier, in front of someone cultivating divine sense heavenly Tao, every word he spoke could not deceive Gu Hengzi. Yet Gu Hengzi hadn't realized that there stood someone capable of mastering the 3,000 great Das. Xiang Beifei, the Tao Palace's envoy, truly, no matter how much I calculated, I didn't foresee the Tao Palace outright taking our Tao stone, brazenly barging in and robbing us. How is this different from banditry? He Yunfang gritted his teeth, his expression very unwilling. Seeing Gu Hengzi's reaction to the Tao stone's no character earlier, he understood that Gu Hengzi did not want to investigate the broken Tao race but also wanted to comprehend it himself. Gu Hengzi seized the Dao Stone without any cost, relying solely on a Dao envoy order, without reason. Now that the Dao Stone was in Gu Hengzi's hands, unless he voluntarily returned it, it was basically impossible for He Yunfang to reclaim it. I reminded you earlier to sell the Dao Stone as soon as possible. You could even earn more breath soil. Now, even if you wanted to sell the second one, you couldn't. Xiang Beifei said. He Yunfang understood this reasoning. Gu Hengzi didn't know that the second Dao Stone was also with the crane race, but now even if the crane race wanted to sell it, there was no room for negotiation. He Yunfang looked at Xiang Beifei, remembering Gu Hengzi's domineering attitude. The Dao Palace had previously issued a human race hunt command in the Edge Corner airspace, demanding that any race execute the human race on sight, with no mercy. This so-called evil human race had always been the one who saved them, yet the Dao Palace's supposed envoy of justice was the one robbing them instead. Living here in the Edge Corner airspace without strength, you can only be led by the nose by others. Any rules are made by the strong, and the weak can only be forced to comply. The Dao Palace, uniting the powerful races of the Edge Corner airspace, has formed a force. When they set their sights on something, they have various ways to seize it. However, Xiang Beifei doesn't mind Gu Hengzi taking the Dao Stone. In fact, he even hopes the other party will quickly comprehend it. Once the other party fuses the Dao intention of the Dao Stone, this Dao embryo basically poses no threat to him. Gu Hengzi thinks he got a huge bargain, but in reality, many things cannot be taken easily. Especially the Dao intention comprehended by Xiang Beifei. But Xiang Beifei is not in a hurry to deal with Gu Hengzi. After all, the other party is an Inquiry Dao Realm Master more powerful than him. He can't handle Gu Hengzi like he handled Kai Kuan. The gap in realm is there. However, as long as the other party comprehends the Dao intention, Xiang Beifei can take the initiative, and in future encounters, he can make his strength fracture. Even the Inquiry Dao realm wants to comprehend my Dao intention. Should I not send out a few more? Xiang Beifei couldn't help but ponder. His current goal is to investigate the Dao Palace and the truth about what happened to Wufeng in the Common Valley. However, his strength is too weak, making it inconvenient to handle things boldly. Considering a long-term approach, if he lets several Dao Stones go and lets more people in the Dao Palace comprehend his Dao intention, dealing with these people later won't be too strenuous. He Yunfang is still sighing. Losing a Dao Stone is a significant loss for them. All the elders of their race are counting on comprehending the Dao intention to break through themselves. This time, losing one to Gu Hengzi is like cutting away a piece of them. Don't think too much about it. At least you still have one Dao Stone, don't you? Xiang Beifei comforted. He Yunfang smiled bitterly. Right. I shouldn't have expected too much. Strictly speaking, without Xiang Beifei, their crane race could only get one Dao Stone. Now losing one, there shouldn't be complaints. Father, I'm back. At this time, He Qing walked in from outside. Shao Qing, why did you only just return? He Yunfang asked. Father, you don't know. I went to Qimu City this time mainly to gain experience, to determine the gap between myself and Suju. But you would never guess. This time the broken Dao race caused quite a stir. He Qing said. A stir? What kind of stir? Broken Dao race. The number 101 Suju and 102 Guanwanli. They were both defeated by two geniuses from the suddenly rising Broken Dao race. Broken Pot and Broken Sweep. These brothers are too strange. He Qing couldn't help but marvel when mentioning these two brothers from the Broken Dao race. Especially Broken Sweep, facing Guan Wanli, it was simply a one-hit kill. The scene was too shocking. Even now He Qing remembers it clearly. She lingered in Qimu City for a long time to understand more about the Broken Dao race's situation, but unfortunately, she couldn't find much. He Qing couldn't help but glance at Xiang Beifei, saying, Xiang Beifei, you didn't go? It's a bit of a pity. I feel Broken Sweep strength is on par with yours. Xiang Beifei laughed dumbly and asked, Is that so? Are they that powerful? Absolutely. This Edge Corner airspace is indeed full of hidden talents. But you should have the strength to wrestle with the Broken Pot and Broken Sweep brothers. He Qing said. Who do you think would win if I were to face the Broken Pot and Broken Sweep brothers? He Qing scrutinized Xiang Beifei for a moment and said, I'm not sure. You and Broken Sweep both instantly defeat opponents. Speaking of which, if it weren't for his different aura, I would almost have thought you made the move. Oh? Is that so? You've piqued my interest. Next time I have the chance, I definitely want to see Broken Sweep. Xiang Beifei said earnestly. I am also looking forward to it. He Qing nodded. Broken Dao race, the suddenly rising Broken Dao race again? Alas. He Yunfang sighed. Father, your face doesn't look good. Has something happened? He Qing asked. The Dao Palace's messenger has come. He Yunfang briefly recapped what had happened just now, and He Qing's expression changed. He's too much. Is this something a messenger from the Dao Palace should do? He Qing said in a grave tone. He Yunfang said bitterly, Forget it. In front of the Dao Palace, we dare not say anything. Fortunately, you first comprehended 2 Dao stones 2 months ago. He Qing is the true genius of the younger generation in the Crane race, with the highest talent. The Crane race can use all their resources to cultivate her. So after acquiring the 2 Dao stones, they immediately let He Qing comprehend them. The Dao intention on the Dao stone, though I have comprehended it, what about you? What should we say to those elders? I can only record the way I comprehended it, but to truly feel that Dao intention, one must grasp it themselves. He Qing said. Can't you replicate it? Xiang Beifei asked. Replicate? He Qing furrowed her brows. After all, it's writing. You can write down what you felt. Can't you? Xiang Beifei said. He Yunfang's eyes brightened and he said, Yes, Shao Qing. You have already comprehended the Dao intention of the word, no. You can try to infuse the Dao intention into it and then write it down. He Qing hesitated for a moment. This solution seems uncertain to her. At least she has no confidence. But now that the Dao stone has been taken away, she has no choice but to try and hope for the best.